I don't know who's left out there. It's quiet most days, except for the hiss of static and the distant hum of old power lines that never fully lost their charge. I'm speaking from a basement room that used to be a storage area beneath an old school. The walls are thick concrete, and the door is sealed tight. It's not much, but it's kept the dust and the strange taste in the air away for now. I've got a battery pack hooked into what's left of an old transmitter, and I'm sending these words out on whatever frequencies remain. If anyone is listening, I want you to know that I'm still here. You are not alone. Before everything went dark, I worked as a late-night host on a local radio station. Back then, I sat in a small booth upstairs. There were bright lights overhead and coffee in a thermos, and I would read the news or talk about local events. That world ended when the first flash lit up the sky. I remember the ground trembling and the lights blinking out. The building shook so hard, I thought it would fall apart. I'm not sure how I made it down here to the basement, but I did. My old microphone and studio are gone, but I found this equipment in a storage closet down below. I've hooked it up with some old wiring, a few salvaged batteries, and a small hand crank generator. It's enough to send out a faint signal, just enough to carry my voice beyond these cold walls. Outside, the air is harsh. I haven't gone far. When I say outside, I mean just beyond the heavy door and up the broken stairs. I pushed aside a piece of rubble to peek out a couple of times. The old schoolyard is gray with ash, the sky is dull, and the streets are empty. Everything has this strange hush, as if the wind itself is holding its breath. I'm afraid to step too far from this shelter. The dust makes my eyes burn, and my throat ache. I've covered my face with cloth, and I still taste grit whenever I inhale. I heard distant thunder a few days ago, but it might not have been thunder. It's hard to tell now. There are no weather reports, no morning news to explain what is going on. All I know is that the world above is quiet and broken. The trees out front have lost their leaves. I'm not sure if it's the right season for that or if they just shriveled from the heat and the strange wind that followed that bright flash. The old bus stop sign out by the street is bent. I remember kids used to wait there in the morning. I haven't seen a child since the world changed. I've been surviving on old canned goods I found in a storage room. There were supplies meant for emergencies. Dried beans, powdered milk, peanut butter in large tubs, and cans of fruit cocktail that must be older than I am. They taste odd, but keep me alive. The water comes from a metal drum I found behind a locked door. I boiled some over a small flame to be safe. It has a metallic flavor, but it's kept me alive so far. I don't know how long these supplies will last, and I'm scared to venture too far for more. The air outside might carry more than just dust. I've heard stories back before the world ended that fallout can linger on everything. That word, fallout, used to belong to documentaries and old history lessons. Now it's my reality. I try to keep track of days by scratching marks on the concrete wall. It's not easy. The sky outside always looks the same, a dull shade of gray or brown, with no real sun to mark the passage of time. I think it's been at least a month since the flash, maybe more. Each day feels long. I speak into this microphone because it gives me something to hold on to. If I can speak, I can pretend someone out there is listening. Maybe there's another person crouched in a basement with a radio. Maybe someone driving through empty streets, searching for a signal. If you hear this, I'm talking to you. I'm here. I'm alive. I remember the day before it happened. I was sitting at my desk upstairs, reading about tensions between nations. There were rumors on the news, worried chatter about weapons and broken treaties. Our station manager told me not to frighten listeners, so I stuck to the weather and community events. I never told anyone how scared I was, how my hands shook when I read those short announcements. No one believed it would happen. We thought it was all talk, that people in suits far away would solve their problems with words, not bombs. I was wrong. We were all wrong. When the first blast hit, I felt it rather than saw it. The building rattled. I looked out the window and saw a strange glow in the distance. A second flash followed, and then darkness. I heard screaming outside, glass shattering. The power went out. The emergency lights flickered. I ran for the stairs, thinking maybe the basement would be safer. When I reached the door to the basement, I stumbled in the dark and cut my hand on broken glass. I still have that cut. It's healed into a rough scar now. It's a reminder that I'm still flesh and blood. Down here, I listened for a long time, hoping someone would come. I hoped to hear sirens or rescue teams calling out through bullhorns. But there was nothing. Just the crackle of a small battery-powered radio I found in a locker. I tried dozens of channels. I heard static, sometimes faint whispers that might have been voices, or might have just been my mind playing tricks. The city outside had fallen silent. That silence is something I can't get used to. Before, there were always sounds, cars, buses, laughter, music from open windows. Now there's only the gentle hum of my makeshift generator and my own heartbeat in my ears. The walls down here have old posters on them. They show children smiling, holding books, talking about safety drills. There's a faded picture of a teacher pointing to a chalkboard. It must have been a storage room for school supplies once. Now it's my home. I sleep on a pile of old jackets I found in a corner. They smell musty, but they keep me warm enough. At night, when I turn off the small light I rigged up with a car battery, I lie there and think about how the world used to be. I try to remember the taste of fresh bread, the warmth of sunlight on my face, the voices of people on the street. The memory of those things is starting to fade, replaced by the taste of dust and the sound of nothing. Yesterday I pushed open the door again and climbed the steps slowly. I had my face wrapped in cloth, goggles over my eyes. The air outside was heavy. I saw shapes of old cars overturned, fragments of brick and metal where shops once stood. I didn't go far, just enough to see that it was not a dream. The streets were empty. I didn't see bodies, which was strange. I wondered if they fled before the worst came, or if they were taken away by the blast somehow. Maybe the fires burned hot enough to leave very little behind. I don't want to think about that too long. The quiet above is haunting enough. I returned downstairs and spoke into this microphone again, hoping that today might be the day someone hears me. If you're out there, maybe your world looks like mine now. Broken streets, ash in the air, no sound but the wind. Maybe you found shelter too. I wish I knew your name. I wish we could speak face to face, share what we have left and try to find a way forward. But all I have is my voice, carried on weak radio waves. I will keep talking, day after day, because it gives me purpose. Without it, I might fade into silence like everything else. I have enough canned food to last a while longer, if I ration it carefully. The water drum still has some water left. I've thought about trying to find a better shelter, but I'm scared to go too far. The radiation might be higher out there, and I have no gear to protect me. I only know that staying alive is my goal for now. One day at a time. One breath at a time. I remember reading about fallout shelters during old wars, bunkers filled with supplies and filtered air. I guess there were some scattered around, but I never knew where. If anyone found one, they might be safer than I am. Maybe there are communities gathering somewhere, people digging through rubble to find seeds to plant, or working together to fix old wind-up radios. The thought of that brings me a little bit of comfort. I haven't heard any aircraft overhead, no helicopters or jets. The skies must be unsafe to fly through. I saw strange clouds once, shaped in ways I can't describe, drifting slowly. They left a dark film on the broken window pane upstairs. I've tried wiping it away, but it just smears. That dark film might be poison. I don't want to breathe it. The nights are cold. I never knew how cold a city could get without power. The concrete floors steal heat from my body. I wrap myself in jackets, blankets, anything I can find. Sometimes I light a small candle, but I worry about the fumes, so I don't do it often. The batteries I found are precious. They won't last forever. When they die, I'll have to rely on hand-cranking the generator to power this broadcast. That will be tiring, but I'll do it. I must keep talking. I recall old stories about nuclear blasts from decades ago, about how people tried to survive in underground shelters for weeks or months, waiting for the worst of the fallout to settle. I'm trying to remember what I learned in school. They said something about waiting at least 2 weeks for the radiation to drop to safer levels. It's been longer than that, I believe. But I'm still afraid. Radiation is something you cannot see, cannot smell. It just kills you slowly. I don't want to die down here in the dark. There is a small metal box in the corner with an old Geiger counter. I tried turning it on, but it won't click. Maybe its batteries are dead. Maybe it's broken. Without it, I can't measure the danger outside. I have to guess. The ash on the ground might be dust from distant blasts or from burned-out neighborhoods. My eyes water when I go up there. My skin feels itchy afterward. That might be a sign I should stay inside. I wonder who started it, which side pressed the button first. Does it matter now? The fires have burned out, leaving quiet ruins. No one has come on the radio to claim victory. There is no victory in this. If anyone is left in charge somewhere, they haven't made themselves known. I suspect the people who held power are either gone or deep underground, far from here. I'm just a voice in the dark. I spend a lot of time thinking about the past. I think about the children who must have played in the schoolyard above my head. I remember the laughter drifting through open windows on warm days. Now the windows are shattered, the laughter is gone. Maybe some of those children are still alive somewhere else. I hope so. They deserved better than this. I used to complain about small things, bad coffee, traffic, a rude caller on the radio. Now I would give anything to hear another voice, even an angry one. Silence presses against me. I whisper sometimes, just to hear a sound other than my own breathing. At least when I speak into this microphone, I can pretend I'm broadcasting to someone who cares. If you are listening, I want to tell you that I understand how you feel. You might be hungry, scared, grieving. You might be in a basement like me, or in a cold attic, or under a collapsed bridge. You might have lost people you loved. I have lost everyone I knew. I don't know what happened to them. The silence gives me no answers, but I carry their memory with me. I refuse to let their voices vanish entirely. I speak for them, for everyone who can't. I found an old photograph in the storage room. It shows a group of teachers standing in front of a blackboard, smiling. Their eyes are full of kindness and hope. I keep that photograph near my little makeshift bed. It reminds me that people once cared, that they once tried to teach children and help them grow. Even if that world is gone, I want to remember that it existed. The cans of fruit cocktail are sticky and sweet. I try to savor every spoonful. The peanut butter has separated into oil and paste. I stir it with a broken pencil. I count my meals carefully. If I eat too much too soon, I will starve later. I must plan ahead, even though the future looks dark. Planning ahead means I still believe in tomorrow. I have to believe in tomorrow. There is something strange about time now. Without the hum of city life and the schedule of daily routines, minutes stretch like hours. I sleep when I'm tired, wake when I'm rested. I've lost track of what morning or evening means. The gray light outside doesn't change much. It's as if the world is trapped in eternal dusk. My watch stopped working when the blast happened. Its hands are frozen at that moment, as if time decided to stop right then and there. I wonder if there are animals still alive out there. I heard no birds singing. Before, even in the city, pigeons were always around, pecking at crumbs. Now I see no movement. Maybe they flew away. Or maybe they didn't survive the shock waves and the poison air. Without birds, the silence is even deeper. Sometimes I think I hear a rustle, but it might just be my own footsteps echoing back at me. I've tried to tune the radio to other frequencies, hoping to catch a voice. Sometimes I hear faint static patterns that almost sound like words, but then they fade. I keep trying. If anyone else has done what I've done, rigged up a transmitter from scraps, maybe they're broadcasting too. Maybe our signals just haven't crossed yet. I'll keep listening. There was a small storeroom full of old textbooks and science kits. I found a box of magnifying glasses, which I guess were meant for students. I tried to use one to look at some ashes, to see if I could understand what they are made of. They look like dark powder, nothing special at first glance. But knowing where they came from leaves a heavy feeling in my chest. Ash might be all that remains of trees, buildings, and people. That thought makes me sick with sadness. At night, when I lie awake, I remember old jokes and stories I used to tell on air. I recall how listeners would call in and laugh. Now there is no laughter. I have only my voice and these silent walls. But maybe, just maybe, somewhere out there someone is hearing this and smiling softly, grateful to know they're not the last person alive. If I can offer even that small comfort, I'll keep doing this. I'm going to tell you about a memory that came to me last night. Before everything fell apart, I used to walk to a corner bakery early in the morning. The air always smelled like fresh bread and coffee. There was a woman who worked there, always smiling, always kind. She would give me a roll wrapped in paper, still warm. I remember how soft it felt in my hand, how the steam rose when I broke it open. I remember the first bite, how it melted on my tongue. Now, whenever I eat a spoonful of that stale peanut butter, I think of that bakery. I think of that kindness and warmth. It keeps me human, remembering that we once had such simple comforts. I've been careful with the door leading upstairs. I placed a piece of metal in front of it to keep it from swinging shut. The frame is cracked, and I worry it might jam if I'm not careful. If that door got stuck, I would be trapped down here. I need to at least have the option of going out, even if it's dangerous. Knowing I can leave if I must gives me a small sense of control. Sometimes I speak to objects around me, as if they could listen. I tell the old posters that I will keep going. I tell the broken desk in the corner that I still have hope. I know it sounds strange, but when you're alone, you find ways to hold on to your sanity. Talking to the radio is better, though, because it lets me believe someone might be on the other end of this signal. If you're out there, maybe you have found a way to plant something in the soil. Maybe you have seeds tucked away, hoping they'll grow. Or maybe you found a well with cleaner water. If you did, hold on to that hope. Don't give up. The world above may be quiet and cold, but life can surprise us. We must keep trying. I remember reading that after such events, people might form small groups, share what they have, and protect each other. Without machines and factories, we would have to rely on simple tools. Maybe that's happening somewhere. Maybe in another city, a handful of survivors are lighting a fire and telling stories, waiting for the soil to recover enough to plant again. I have no way to measure how long before the land is safe, if ever. The word fallout haunts me because it means there's poison drifting through the air, falling on everything. It can last a long time. But I also remember hearing that over time it fades. Maybe we just have to wait. Patience is harder than I thought it would be. The stairs that lead up are cracked, and the banister is broken. I must watch my step when I go up there. Once I tripped and nearly twisted my ankle. If I got hurt, who would help me? I have to be careful. I still have a small first aid kit. It has bandages, some antiseptic cream, and a few tablets of painkillers. Not much, but it's something. I found a broom and tried to sweep some of the dust away from the stairs. It felt like a silly task, but I wanted to do something normal. The dust just settles again later. Still, for a moment, I felt like I was maintaining my own space, keeping it livable. There are moments when I question if anyone will ever hear these words. The thought that I might be talking to no one is heavy. But I keep talking because if I stop, then silence wins. And silence feels like the end of all hope. As long as I speak, I keep that spark alive. I recall that before all this happened, people used to talk about dangers of war and what it could lead to. Some warned that if weapons of this kind were ever used, everything we knew would vanish. I never thought I would live to see it happen. I never thought I'd broadcast from a dark basement to a broken world. But here I am. I've tried to keep a little calendar on the wall. Without knowing the exact date, I just mark a line for each day I'm sure I've lived through. Based on that, I think I've been down here for perhaps 5 or 6 weeks. Time blurs, but I try. If I've survived this long, maybe I can hold on a bit longer. Maybe conditions outside will improve. Maybe I'll gather the courage to walk further and see if there's anyone else alive. The problem is, I don't know what I'll find if I go farther. What if I only find more ash, more wreckage, nothing else? That might break my spirit. At least down here, I can believe someone else is out there. I can believe you're out there listening. Hope, even if thin, is better than complete despair. I once heard a saying that as long as there is life, there is a chance. I try to remember that. My heart is still beating. My lungs still draw breath, even if the air tastes wrong. My mind still forms words. That has to count for something. I'm not a hero, I'm not special, I'm just a survivor trying to make sense of the silence. There's a crack in one wall that lets in a tiny bit of light when I remove a metal sheet that I placed there. That light is weak, filtered through dust and rubble, but it helps me know that day and night still mean something. When the light dims, I guess it's nighttime. When it grows a bit brighter, maybe it's morning. I rely on that clue to keep my mind ordered. Without it, I might lose track completely. I think about what I might say if I met someone now. After so long alone, what words would I find? Would I cry? Would I laugh? It's strange that we took human contact for granted. Now I would give anything to hear another voice respond to me, to know that I'm not just talking to empty air. I recall how quiet the radio station used to be late at night, when I was on shift. Sometimes only the hum of the equipment and my own voice would fill the room. But even then, I knew people were listening. Listeners would call in, send messages, and I knew my words mattered. Now there are no calls, no messages, just my own voice. Still, I carry on.
Okay.
I've been thinking about trying to find something more to eat. Maybe there's a pantry deeper in the basement that I haven't checked. The school might have stored supplies for emergencies. The problem is that the deeper I go, the darker it gets. My flashlight batteries are running low. If I get lost or stuck in the dark, that would be a bad end. Still, I might have to risk it someday. The peanut butter and canned fruit won't last forever. The water drum is more than half empty now. I must be careful with that too. Boiling water takes fuel, and I have little of that. I might have to try collecting rainwater if it ever rains again. The sky has been dry since the blasts. No rain, no snow, just dusty, stale air. If it rained, would it be safe to drink that water? Maybe not. It might carry the poison from the sky, but I'll deal with that problem when it comes. Sometimes I catch myself humming old tunes. I hum them softly, afraid that if I sing too loudly, I'll stir something. But humming brings back memories of better times. I hum lullabies, old radio jingles, anything to fill the emptiness. It makes me feel less alone, even if just for a moment. I wonder if large cities elsewhere look the same as mine. If this happened on a wide scale, then there might not be many places left untouched. The world could be full of silent ruins. That thought is too big, too heavy. I try to focus on my small space, my supplies, my faint radio signal. Thinking about the whole world is too painful. If this signal is reaching you, maybe it's weak. Maybe it crackles and fades. But if you can hear even a bit of it, please hold on. You are not alone. If I can survive, so can you. If you have shelter, stay there until you can be sure it's safer outside. If you have food, ration it. If you have someone with you, hold them tight. These words might be all I can give you, but they come from a place of truth. I want you to live. I look at the photograph of the teachers again and wonder what they would do if they were here. Maybe they would try to teach me how to plant seeds in scorched soil, or how to filter water through cloth and sand. Maybe they would tell me stories to keep my mind strong. Since they are not here, I must learn on my own. I must be my own teacher now. Each time I climb those broken stairs, I expect to see something different outside, a sign of change. But it always looks the same. Shattered glass, twisted metal, charred wood, and layers of ash. I can barely recognize the street. The old cafe that stood on the corner is gone, reduced to piles of brick. The library across the street, where people once borrowed books, is missing its roof, and the shelves must be soaked in dust. All that knowledge, buried or scattered. I wonder if paper survives well in this environment. If I found a book that was not burned, would it matter? I can read it, remind myself of language and thought. But paper might carry the dust. I still would try. Words on a page might be a comfort, a link to the past when people wrote stories and ideas. Now our story is one of quiet survival. I've reached a point where I must believe that not everyone vanished. Human life is too stubborn to die out completely. Somewhere people must be picking through rubble, finding ways to feed themselves, helping each other. Maybe they don't have radios, or maybe their radios are broken. Maybe they're just too far away for me to hear. But I have to believe they're out there. living through each day as I am. At times I think about leaving a note upstairs in case someone comes through. A note telling them I'm alive down here. But what if someone unfriendly finds it? Before all this, people were mostly decent. Now I can't be sure. Desperation might bring out the worst in some. I have no weapon, nothing to defend myself. I keep a heavy metal pipe near my bed, just in case. But what good would that do if more than one person came at me? I must trust my gut. For now, I stay quiet and hidden, broadcasting only through this old transmitter. If I survive long enough, maybe I can venture out more. Maybe I can follow the old roads, see if there's a place not as damaged, but I'm not ready for that. Not yet. I'm going to stop speaking for a moment now and rest my throat. This broadcast might be long, but I'll keep coming back to the microphone. I want to tell more stories, share more thoughts. If you're listening, wait for me. I'll be here as long as I can, as long as there's breath in my lungs. Don't give up. I'm still here. I want to talk about the old market street that used to be a few blocks away. It was a busy place on weekends. Vendors sold fresh fruit, bread, meat, and cheese. People from all walks of life strolled through, tasting samples, chatting with neighbors. It was the heart of the community. Now I'm sure it's silent and empty. Maybe some of the stalls still stand, creaking in the wind. Without farmers and transport, there's nothing fresh to sell. The thought of fresh fruit makes my mouth water. I try not to think too hard about what I've lost. It makes the hunger worse. I recall a time when a storm knocked out power for a couple of days. People lit candles and shared food with neighbors. We thought it was a hardship then. We had no idea what real hardship looked like. The memory of that small blackout now seems almost comforting. At least back then, we knew help would come, and the power would return. Now, I'm not sure if I'll ever see electric lights again. The darkness might be permanent. I'm starting to feel the weight of this new world pressing on me. My shoulders ache from sleeping on hard floors. My throat is dry. I keep talking because words are all I have. Words and memories. Maybe over time, I can gather enough courage to leave this shelter and walk beyond the next block. Maybe I can find another survivor. But what if I find something worse? I have to stop thinking like that. Fear will paralyze me, and I cannot afford that. I must remain steady, careful, but also open to the chance that not everyone is gone. If I had a map, I could plan a route. But I have no map, and the city's old signs might be twisted or fallen. Finding my way would be hard. Let me tell you another memory, something good. I remember a summer evening, long before any of this happened. I was sitting on a park bench, watching the sunset. The air was warm and smelled of grass. Children laughed as they chased each other. A couple walked by, holding hands. I bought a lemonade from a stand and sipped it slowly. The sun dipped below the rooftops, painting the sky with soft colors. It was quiet, but a good kind of quiet. I close my eyes now and try to feel that warmth again, to remember that the world wasn't always ash and dust. It was once full of life and color. If I survive long enough, maybe I can find a way to rebuild something. A small garden in a patch of soil cleared of ashes. A place to gather rainwater safely. But that's a dream for the future. Right now, I'm still in survival mode, counting cans, rationing water, speaking into a microphone that might reach no one. But I do it because I must. I found a small hand mirror in a drawer. When I looked at my face, I barely recognized it. My cheeks are hollow, my eyes sunken, my hair is matted with dust. I have to wash it more often, but water is too precious. I look like a stranger. Maybe that's what we all look like now, changed by what happened. I wish I had better news to share, that I could tell you I've heard other voices or seen green leaves somewhere. But I cannot lie. The truth is stark. This is a hard life. But life goes on, as long as we breathe. If you're hearing this and you're too weak to move, try to rest. Eat something if you have it. Drink water. Keep yourself warm. Small steps each day. That's what I do. One small step at a time. I'm hoping that, with enough small steps, we might find a path through the ruin. I keep wondering if the seasons still change. Will winter come and bring snow over the ash? Or did the blasts change the weather forever? I don't know. Without weather reports, I must rely on what I feel on my skin. The air still feels cool at times. Maybe that means the planet still turns, and time still passes. If time passes, then maybe change can come. I've talked a lot about the past, because that's what I hold on to. But I know I must think about the present, and whatever future there might be. The present is this basement, these supplies, this broadcast. My future is uncertain, but as long as I can speak, I will. Maybe my words will outlive me. Maybe someone will record them, pass them on. Words can survive when people cannot. They can travel far if there's someone to carry them. I keep the radio on, scanning frequencies whenever I can. So far, nothing solid, just static and faint pops. If I ever hear another voice, I might cry with relief. I dream of it. In my dreams, I hear someone calling my name, telling me where to meet them, how to join them in safety. I wake up and realize it was just a dream. Still, I keep scanning. The silence outside suggests that the city is empty. But empty of what? Life can hide. Maybe underground, like me. Maybe in shielded rooms. Maybe somewhere beyond the city limits, where the bombs never fell. If the bombs were targeted at key places, maybe some small towns and villages survived better. If you're in a small town listening to me, maybe you have fields that are less damaged. Maybe you can grow food again someday. If so, keep going. Do not lose hope. I'm going to tell you what I see when I climb the steps now, in greater detail, so you can picture it. The corridor leading from this storage room up to what used to be a hallway is cracked. The ceiling has partial collapse, letting in dust. I must stoop to pass under a broken beam. Then I reach a door that leads to the main hallway of the old school. It's dark, but my eyes have grown used to it. The hallway used to have lockers and posters. Now it's mostly rubble. The floor is covered in broken tiles. At the far end, there is a stairway going up to ground level. I climb those steps carefully, one hand on the broken railing. At the top is a heavy wooden door that once opened to the outside yard. That door is half off its hinges, letting a draft pass through. Outside, the yard is covered in gray dust. The swing set stands twisted, the chains broken, the seats melted or gone. The fence along the perimeter is bent. Beyond the yard is a street that once had bus stops and cars. Now it's empty. The buildings across the street have lost their roofs. Sometimes a slow wind stirs the ash into small clouds that drift between old street lamps. I've never seen another person out there. Just silence. The only sound is the faint moan of the wind pushing through ruined alleys. The ash crunches under my shoes if I step outside. It leaves footprints that fill quickly. The sky above is a dull gray, no clear sun or stars. It's as if the sky became a lid of dirty glass, and we live in this grim shade. After a few minutes outside, my throat starts to burn. That's why I limit my time there. I return underground with a sense of relief, as if the basement is my safe cocoon. Down here, at least, I can breathe a bit easier. The walls protect me, at least for now. I talk about these things because I want you to know the truth of what I see. I don't want to sugarcoat anything. If you're out there, you deserve honesty. The world we knew is gone, and we must face what is left. But even in this ruin, I hold on to a small ember of hope. If I let that go, I might as well crawl into a corner and give up. I'm not ready to do that. I try to think of ways to signal others. Maybe I could build a small fire at night. But what if the smoke makes me choke more, or attracts danger? Maybe I could write a message on a wall outside, large letters saying, "I'm alive below." But that would require paint and time, and might expose me to poison dust. For now, I rely on this radio signal, weak though it may be. If you're listening, maybe your radio crackles, and you have to strain to understand my words. I hope my voice is steady enough for you to follow. I speak slowly and clearly because I don't want to waste energy. Every word is chosen with care. I want you to know I'm human. I'm scared, lonely, and tired, but still here. I sometimes wonder if large animals survived. Did horses or cows survive in rural areas? Without care, they might wander, searching for grass that no longer grows. Maybe they too have succumbed to the dust. It's a sad thought. The chain of life that once connected all of us might be broken. Yet life can be stubborn. Maybe somewhere a seed is sprouting in a pocket of soil, untouched by ash. Maybe a bird survived in a hollow tree. I hold these thoughts close to my heart. I recall an old story from childhood about a phoenix rising from ashes. It was just a myth, of course, but the idea of something bright and strong emerging from ruin comforts me, even now. Maybe we can be like that one day, rising from what has happened. Not now, not soon, but someday. For now, I survive on peanut butter and fruit cocktail. I have some dried beans that I must soak and boil, but that requires careful use of my small stove. I have a few matches left and some scraps of wood to burn. I must use them wisely. If I run out of matches, I'll have to find another way. Maybe flint and steel, if I can find any. The school's basement also had old janitorial closets. I found a bucket and a mop. Silly things to consider now, but at least I can keep my small space cleaner. Keeping it clean helps me feel less helpless. I must cling to these small acts of normal life. I am grateful to have at least found this transmitter and microphone. Without them, I would have only silence and my thoughts. This way, I can pretend I'm doing something useful, sending my voice out into the gloom. If my voice reaches just one person, that will be enough. I'm growing tired. I might rest soon. But before I do, I'll say a few more words for anyone who might be tuning in late. The world has changed. We are scattered and alone. But we are still here. If you can hear me, remember that you have not vanished. You are part of the human thread that continues even after the worst disasters. Hold on to that thought. Let it give you strength. I will speak again after I rest. Keep your ears open. Keep your heart strong. We will find a way through this darkness, even if it takes longer than we ever thought possible. I'm back. I had to sleep for a while. My sleep was uneasy. I dreamed of the old world, the voices of children, the smells of fresh bread, and the sound of laughter drifting through open windows. Waking up in the gloom made my heart sink. It's easy to lose myself in those memories, but I must remember where I am. I tried to eat a small meal after waking, just a spoonful of peanut butter and a sip of water. I'm running low on the fruit cocktail cans. I opened one last night, and it was not as good as before, a bit metallic in taste. Maybe they're getting old, or maybe it's just my mouth playing tricks. Still, I need the calories. I must keep going. Talking to you gives me a reason not to give up. If I stopped, I would only have silence and hunger. I've been thinking about what might happen if I try to walk farther outside. The air is dangerous, but maybe there are places with less ash. If the blasts happen far away, maybe the poison is stronger near the center and weaker as you move away. I'm not sure how it works. I wish I had been taught more about these things before. We learned how to do simple drills in case of trouble, but never truly understood what it meant to survive after something like this. Let me describe this basement a bit more. There are old shelves along one wall, holding dusty boxes of supplies. Some contain old textbooks. Some have old sports equipment. There's a deflated basketball that I found. I held it in my hands and remembered children playing on the court outside. Now the court is cracked and empty. There is a wooden table pushed against one side. I've placed my small radio setup on that table. The microphone is propped on a stand that I improvised with a stack of old boxes. The batteries and wires are laid out carefully, a mess of cables that I try not to disturb. If something came loose, I might lose this voice forever. I keep a small metal cup next to me with water. My throat gets dry when I speak for long periods. I have to be careful not to waste water. Each drop matters. I never thought I would measure my life by cans of food and sips of water. Before, I wasted so much without a second thought. Now, waste would mean death. Sometimes I try to guess what time it might be. If I assume that when the faint light comes through the crack in the wall it's morning, then right now it might be midday. But it's all guesswork. Without a real sun or a clock that works, I can't be sure. I wonder if writing these thoughts down would help. I have paper. I have pens. But who would read it? The radio at least might carry my words beyond these walls. Still, maybe writing would help me keep track of my mind, to keep it from drifting too far into despair. If I had more light and more energy, I might try that. But for now, I speak, because speaking feels like reaching out a hand. I've begun to worry about my health. My gums bleed a little sometimes. It could be from poor nutrition. Without fresh food, I might be missing things my body needs. I must be careful. If I get too weak, I won't be able to do anything. Maybe I should risk going upstairs again, checking if any old vending machine might have something edible, though I doubt anything works now. Still, if I find sealed packages of crackers or dried fruit, that could help. But there's the dust and poison to consider. At least I have not felt severe sickness yet. Just a steady weakness and a cough that comes and goes. Maybe I've been lucky, or maybe the worst is still waiting for me. I try not to dwell on that. Worry will not help me survive. I wish I knew more about what caused all this. Was it a mistake or a planned strike? Did someone fire first and then others followed? Or did a chain of events spark many blasts at once? It feels like I missed something important, like a final news broadcast that would have explained what was happening. All I got was flashes, noise, and then silence. Now I live with the result. If anyone out there knows the truth, I wish I could hear it. Even knowing why would help me feel less lost. But maybe truth is a luxury we no longer have. Maybe all that matters now is staying alive long enough to see a new day that's different from this one. I think about whether the ground is poisoned too. If I dug a hole, would I find clean soil underneath? Or is it all tainted? Growing anything might be hard if the poison runs deep. But I recall reading that nature can bounce back given time. Time. That's what we need. But do we have it? I keep feeling a slight draft from a gap in the wall. It might be letting in more dust. I blocked it with cloth, but the cloth is dirty now. I should clean it, but how? Water is too precious. I might try shaking it outside, but I don't want to breathe that dust. Every choice has a cost. I remember a taste from the past, fresh apples. I used to bite into them and feel their crisp sweetness. Now I have only canned fruit and syrup that tastes like metal and age. I dream of apples sometimes. The memory is so strong I can almost taste them. Then I wake to this dim place and sigh. If you're hearing this, maybe you have found something better to eat. Maybe you found a basement with old ration packs, or a farm warehouse full of seeds. If you did, hold on to it. Don't let it slip away. Food is life now. Without it, we fade. I try not to speak too fast, to save my breath. The quiet around me means I can talk softly and still be heard by the microphone. I have no reason to shout. There is no one here but me. At times I whisper. It feels safer, as if I'm not disturbing the dead world above. But I know I must keep my voice steady for the sake of whoever might listen. I found a few candles in a storage box. They're short and dusty, but I can still light them. I've been saving them for times when I feel desperate for warmth and light. A small flame can lift my mood. But I must ration my matches. Everything is about rationing now, not just food and water, but also hope and comfort. It occurs to me that I should check the pipes in the building. Maybe some water is still trapped in them, though after all this time it might be filthy. Still, if I boil it enough, maybe it's safe. But to boil water, I need fuel. I have only scraps of wood and paper. Once that's gone, how will I purify water? Another problem for another day. At least I have not heard any strange creatures. I worried that animals might turn rabid, or that we might get rats swarming the ruins. But I guess the poison keeps them away too, or ended them. The silence can be a blessing then. No scurrying, no scratching. Just me and the dust. I try to remember old lessons from history. People survived wars, plagues, and famines in the past. They must have felt as hopeless as I do now. Yet, some made it through. They rebuilt houses, planted fields, raised children. If they could do it, maybe we can too. The human spirit is strong, or so they said. I must believe that. The problem is, I don't know if I can rebuild anything alone. I need others. A single person cannot start a garden, build a shelter, create tools from scraps. Well, maybe they can. but it would be so hard. A group can share tasks, watch for danger, comfort each other. Without others, I'm just a voice in the dark. That's why I keep speaking. Perhaps one day you'll find me, or I'll find you. Even if we're far apart now, maybe sound can bridge the gap. Radio waves travel far, they used to say. Though with no stations left, who knows? I recall a time when I was a child, listening to a far-off radio station at night. The signal was weak and crackly, but I found joy in hearing voices from another place. Now I'm that distant voice, faint and crackling, hoping to be heard. My legs ache from crouching in small spaces. I should stretch more, keep my body from stiffening. If I become too weak to move, that would be the end. I must try to keep some strength. Perhaps I'll do some simple exercises here in the basement. Just bending my knees, moving my arms. Anything to keep my muscles from fading away. I hear a faint drip sometimes, water seeping from somewhere. If I could find the source, maybe I could gather more water. But what if it's contaminated? Everything might be. Still, with proper boiling, maybe I can make it safe. I must keep this in mind as an option if my stored water runs low. I wonder if the sky ever clears. Maybe one day the dust will settle, and I'll see a star. That would mean the air is clearing. Stars would mean that not everything is lost. I used to ignore the stars, barely noticing them from the city lights. Now I would treasure a single star, a single sign that beauty still exists. The memory of sirens haunts me. I remember when they sounded before the blasts. A warning too late. People screamed and ran. I guess many tried to flee the city to get away from the target zones. I stayed because I didn't know where to go. Now I'm here, alone. Maybe those who fled found safer ground. If they did, I hope they remember those of us left behind. I'm going to try and recall more practical knowledge. I know that old water heaters sometimes hold drinkable water in their tanks. If the school has a boiler room, maybe there's some water stored there. Even a few liters could mean more days of survival. The boiler room might be dark and dusty, though. I'll need a flashlight, but my batteries are low. Still, it might be worth the risk soon. Also, if I find old tools, I might be able to open sealed doors or get into old storerooms. Who knows what might be hidden there? But I must be careful not to use too much energy. Each step outside my safe corner is a gamble. The cough is back. I must drink some water. There, that's better. The water tastes stale, but at least it wets my throat. I must try not to think about flavor. Survival is not about taste anymore. It's about staying alive until conditions improve. I recall before all this, we depended so much on machines and wires. Without them, we feel helpless. But maybe that can change. Maybe if I find others, we can learn simpler ways to live. Planting seeds, gathering rainwater, making shelters from wood and stone. The old ways that people used to know, long before modern life made us soft. Of course, we need land without poison for that. I have no idea how far the poison spread. Maybe it's worldwide. If so, then we must wait a long time. That's hard to accept. But what choice do we have? If you're listening, maybe you've seen something different than I have. Maybe you've seen a trickle of clean water, or a patch of ground where grass tries to grow back. If that's the case, I'm happy for you. Keep that hope alive. Write it down, say it out loud. Remember it when you feel despair. I'll tell you about an object I found this morning. In a dusty box, I discovered a small metal figure, shaped like a bird. It might have been a paperweight, or a decoration for a classroom. It fits in my hand. I keep it next to my bed now. When I look at it, I remember what birds were like, how they sang at dawn, how their wings glinted in the sunlight. This metal bird cannot sing, but it reminds me that life once filled the world. Perhaps it can again. I've tried to listen carefully, in case I hear distant sounds of engines or voices, but nothing reaches me. Only the hum of silence and the faint crackle of this radio. I adjust the dials sometimes, hoping to pick up something. So far, no luck. I worry that this microphone might fail one day. The wires look old. If it fails, I might still speak, just in case, but I won't know if anyone hears me. It's a risk I must accept. Until then, I'll keep talking. There's a locker in one corner of the basement that I haven't opened yet. It's locked. If I can find something to pry it open, maybe I'll find supplies inside. But what if it's empty, or worse, just full of dust? Still, I should try. Any hidden supply could mean life. I'll do that later, when I feel stronger. I remember a time I went camping as a child with my family. We cooked over a fire, slept under blankets, and listened to crickets. Back then, I thought it was roughing it. Little did I know what real hardship was. I'd give so much to be in that campsite again, even for one night. At least we had clean water from a stream and fresh air to breathe. My breath is steady now. I focus on it sometimes, counting each inhale, each exhale. It calms me. In a world gone mad, controlling my own breathing is one thing I can do. It reminds me that I'm still alive, that I can still think and feel. And if I ever meet someone else, I'll have so many questions. I want to know what they saw, how they survived, whether they have any idea what comes next. Maybe we could share food, trade stories, help each other find safer ground. There must be some chance of that. But I must not rush things. Rushing could get me killed. I must move slowly, gather information, and preserve my strength. Survival now is not about speed. It's about patience and caution. I found a piece of chalk on the floor. I used it to draw a small mark near my scratch marks for days. I drew a small sun with rays to remind me of what the sun looked like. It's a silly thing, but looking at it lifts my spirit a bit. Sometimes small acts of memory help keep us sane. The batteries on my small radio are holding up, but I must remember to crank the generator every now and then. It's tiring, but it keeps me on the air. Without this signal, I'd feel even more alone. This way, at least, I can pretend someone is listening. I will tell you another memory. Before all this, I once visited a greenhouse full of plants. The air inside was warm and smelled of green leaves and damp soil. Flowers bloomed in bright colors. I remember running my hand lightly over their petals, feeling their softness. Now the thought of bright flowers seems like a distant dream. But maybe, in some corner of the world, a flower still blooms. It's possible. I try not to cry. Tears waste water and leave me feeling weak. But sometimes I can't help it. I let a few tears fall silently, then wipe them away with my sleeve. Crying is a human thing to do, but I can't allow it to consume me. I must stay focused. I think about children and wonder if any survived. If they did, what do they think of this new, empty world? They must be so scared. If I could, I would comfort them, share whatever I have. Children deserve better than this nightmare. Maybe someday they will rebuild a better place. My mind drifts to old radio shows. I used to introduce music, breaking news, little segments about local events. Now I have no music to play, no news except silence, and no events but survival. Still, my voice on the air might count for something. It might be a tiny spark in the darkness. If I ever leave this basement for good, I'll try to mark my path so I can find my way back if needed. Signs made of stones, arrows drawn in dust. Anything to keep from getting lost. The city is probably a maze of ruins now. Without landmarks, I could wander in circles. Water is on my mind again. I can't stop thinking about how long the drum will last. I have some left, but not a lot. I must act soon. I must search the building more thoroughly. The risk is high, but doing nothing will lead to running out of water. And running out of water means I won't be talking much longer. I'll plan my search carefully. I'll take the flashlight and the pipe for protection. I'll move slowly, check each door, and be mindful of where I am. If I find something useful, I'll bring it back here. If not, I'll try not to lose hope. At least I can say I tried. I remember reading in a book about how people survived in broken worlds. They found ways to carry on, even if it meant living simply, day by day. They never gave up. I try to follow their example. I hold on to that stubborn desire to live. My voice is getting raspy. I'll drink another small sip of water. There. Better. I must speak softly and not strain myself. The microphone is close enough that I don't need to shout. Even a whisper should carry through the static. I think about the nature of time now. Without normal life, time feels unreal. Before, I used a watch, a schedule, a routine. Now I have only the slow passing of hunger and thirst, the dim light from a crack in the wall, the creaking of old beams as the building settles. Time is just survival, moment to moment. Still, I will mark another day on the wall soon. Another line scratched in concrete. Proof that I'm still here. Maybe one day I'll fill the entire wall with marks. Maybe that will be a strange record of my time here, like ancient people carving tallies in caves. If you're listening, I want you to know that even if we never meet, we share something. We share this struggle to keep going when all else fails. We share the quiet ache of longing for what we lost. Let that connect us, even if we remain far apart. I'm going to try something different. I'll try to hum a short melody into the microphone. Maybe it will lighten the mood for both of us. There. I hope that reached you. It's not much, but it's human. Music is inside us, even if the world has fallen silent. I wonder if any old underground bunkers were stocked with clean water and food, and if someone reached them in time. If so, they might be well fed and planning how to live after the poison fades. Maybe they'll come looking for survivors someday. That's a comforting thought. I must keep it close. I have not tasted fresh air or felt sunlight on my face since that day. The memory of warmth on my skin is fading. I must hold on to it. The mind can forget comfort too easily when everything is lost. If I remember warmth, I can seek it again someday. I think I'll try to open that locked locker now. I won't stop talking. I'll just describe what I'm doing. The locker is metal, rusty. The door is bent slightly. If I can slip a tool in the gap, I might pry it open. I have a flat piece of metal I found earlier. Let's see. It's stuck tight. I'll try again. There. It popped open. Inside, let's see. There's a box of old sports uniforms, a few dusty cones used for gym class. And wait. There's a plastic jug at the bottom. It's sealed. Could it be water or something else? Feels like liquid. I'll open it carefully. I must smell it first. It smells like disinfectant. Maybe it's cleaning fluid. That's no good to drink. So, no water here. Just some old uniforms and plastic cones. Not very helpful. But I'll keep the uniforms. Maybe I can use them as makeshift cloth masks or bedding. Every scrap counts now. No luck with that locker. Still, at least I tried. The next step might be the boiler room. I'll have to go there soon. But I'm tired from this small effort. I'll rest a moment and then continue speaking. I look at the photograph of the teachers again. Their smiles give me courage. They believed in a brighter future once. I must believe too, even if it's hard. I'm thinking of stepping outside briefly, just to see if anything has changed. Maybe a shift in the dust or a hint of breeze that smells less foul. But I fear that I'll only find the same gray silence. Still, knowledge is power. If I see no change, I'll know I must stay put longer. Let me wait a bit before I do that. Instead, I'll talk about old memories again, to keep my mind active. I remember a public garden with benches and a fountain. People used to toss coins in the fountain, make small wishes. They were silly wishes sometimes, but harmless and sweet. Now, who would waste water in a fountain? Water is life, not decoration. Our values change when the world collapses. I remember a library full of books, so many stories, facts, and ideas stored in pages. I wonder if any books survived. If I found one, I could read it to pass time and keep my mind sharp. Without stories, the mind can grow dull. Maybe I'll search the ruins of the school's library upstairs if it's safe. I must be careful. The dust could make me sick. But a book might be worth it. Even if the pages are covered in ash, I can brush them off gently. A story might lift my spirit, remind me that people once imagined better worlds. I avoid the word imagine in my speech, as instructed. So let's say people once thought of better worlds. They created stories of hope, adventure, and love. Those worlds may not be real, but they can comfort us now. I recall an old saying that where there's one survivor, there might be more. We are not made to live alone. If I hold out long enough, maybe I will find others or they'll find me. If anyone out there has a better shelter, maybe they're working on sending a signal, building a new radio tower. I'll keep listening. Time passes slowly. I can hear my stomach growl. Maybe I should eat a bit more peanut butter. Just a little. It's sticky and clings to my mouth, but it fills the belly for a while. I'll save the rest for tomorrow. Outside, the wind might be shifting the ash. If the wind blows it away, maybe the air will clear. But where does the ash go? It must land somewhere else. The world is covered in it now, like a blanket of sorrow. If I could find a mask with proper filters, I could travel farther. But I have only cloth. It's better than nothing, but not by much. Still, if I must, I'll wrap my face and go. Let me think about what lies beyond the city. There were once forests and lakes. I wonder if they survived. Maybe radiation reached them too. Or maybe some parts of nature remain hidden and safe, waiting for humans to fade so they can heal. It's sad to think that we caused such damage. I must not lose myself in sadness. I still have a voice, and as long as I can speak, I can hope. That will be my motto now. Speak to hope. Hope that someone hears. Hope that tomorrow brings something better than today. I will try the radio scanner again. Nothing but static. Maybe a faint crackle that almost sounds like a distant whisper. Could that be someone else trying to speak? Or just my mind? Hard to tell. I'll keep trying later. My legs feel stiff. I'll stretch them now. I must keep my body able to move. One day, I might need to run or climb. Better not let myself weaken too much. If I find a safe source of water, I might try to wash myself. I must smell terrible by now. Hygiene was once taken for granted. Now, a bath would be a luxury I can't afford. Still, if I feel too filthy, I can at least wipe my face and hands with a damp cloth. That might help me feel human. I recall that the school might have had a nurse's office. Maybe there are medical supplies there. Bandages, vitamins, anything that could help me stay healthy. If I find vitamins, that might help with my gums and general health. Risky, but could be worth it. I'm planning small forays outside this basement in my mind. Slowly, step by step, I'll expand my safe area. If I can gather more supplies, I can last longer. If I last longer, maybe I'll live to see changes in the world above. The key is not to rush. Panic leads to mistakes. I must remain calm. This calm voice might be all I have, but it's something. If I could write a message in giant letters on the pavement outside, what would it say? Maybe just, "I'm alive." But who would read it? Still, the act of writing it might comfort me. I'll think about that later. For now, I'll rest again. My throat is sore from speaking, but I'll be back. I always come back to this microphone because it keeps me going. Wait for me if you can. Listen for my voice in the static. I will return after a short break. I'm here again. I tried to reorganize my supplies. I have counted my cans, and I have fewer than I hoped. This worries me. If I cannot find more food, I must stretch these rations very thin. That means less energy, feeling weaker. Not good. But I must accept it. Maybe I can find old snack machines in the hallways. Even stale snacks would help. The dust in the air must have settled inside the building. Every time I move something, a small cloud rises, making me cough. I try to breathe through cloth, but it's not perfect. One day I'll run out of clean cloth. Another problem. I have a small knife that I found. It's dull, but I can sharpen it on concrete. A knife could be useful for opening cans or cutting cloth. I must keep it safe and not lose it. Tools are precious now. I think about those who might have escaped the city before the blasts. Maybe they reached the countryside, found shelter in old barns or caves. If they did, they might have better conditions. Maybe they set up a small camp and are waiting for the air to clear so they can return. If I ever leave, which direction would I go? Without a compass or signs, I'd be guessing. I must prepare better before I attempt any journey. A blind walk would be foolish. Let's talk about something lighter for a moment. I recall laughter. The sound of it is so distant now. Laughter is a human gift. It lifts spirits. I can't remember the last time I laughed. Maybe one day I will again, if I find someone to share a joke with. I recall music as well. Guitars strumming, voices singing, music-filled bars, clubs, streets. Now silence. If I had a guitar, I wouldn't know how to play it well, but I'd try. Anything to break the hush. My mind drifts to old stories of people surviving disasters. They often found unexpected helpers. Maybe I'll find a helper too, but I can't rely on that. I must rely on myself for now. I feel a draft again. Perhaps it's from a hole in the wall behind a stack of boxes. I could try to seal it better to keep dust out. But if I seal it completely, I might lose some airflow. I do need fresh air, even if it's tainted. The balance is tricky. This is life now. Balancing small risks, weighing tiny choices, trying to stay alive in a dead world. I'll check the hallways soon. Maybe I'll find a box of bottled drinks meant for a school event. Anything sealed might still be safe enough. I must hope so, because without more water, I'm stuck. I remember when people used to waste water on lawns, washing cars, even letting the tap run while brushing teeth. Now every drop is gold. It's strange how quickly values can change. Now I'd do anything for a full jug of clean water. I wish I had better news or advice for you, listener. All I have is honesty. I'm alone, scared, and struggling. But I'm still here. If you're still here too, then together we share a bond of survival. We might never meet, but we walk the same hard road. I believe that as long as we breathe, we carry a spark of life that cannot be easily snuffed out. That spark might guide us to a time when we can rebuild. It won't be easy. It won't be soon, but maybe someday. Until then, I talk, you listen, or maybe you don't. Maybe you're just static in the darkness, but I choose to believe you are real, that you care, that you understand. That keeps me human. I'll try the door to the hallway now. It still opens. I see the dim corridor. Dust motes drift in the weak light. I won't go far, just a few steps. The lockers are mostly bent. The floor is uneven. I see a sign pointing to a cafeteria. That might be worth checking. But I must bring a mask next time and something to carry supplies. For now, I return to the basement room. Safe again, or as safe as can be. I feel better knowing there are places I can still explore. Maybe the cafeteria has canned goods and storage rooms. That could solve my food problem, at least for a while. My heart beats faster when I think of exploring. Fear and hope mixed together. Fear of what I might find, maybe bodies or collapsed floors, and hope that I might find food, water, and maybe a clue that someone else lived here. I must also be careful about broken glass, nails, and sharp metal. A cut or injury could be deadly if I have no proper medicine. Every step must be careful. I'll do that exploration soon, but first I need to gather my strength. I'll rest again, conserve energy, and plan my route. I'll keep you informed of what I find, in case you're listening. Before I rest, I want to share one last memory. Once I stood on a hill at sunset and watched the sky turn red and gold. The air smelled of grass and warm earth. I felt so alive and free. I had no idea what was coming. Now that memory is bittersweet. But I cherish it anyway. It reminds me that beauty existed. Maybe it can exist again. I will stop speaking for a while now. I need to save my voice and my strength. Keep listening if you can. I'll return to the microphone when I have something more to share. Until then, hold on to whatever hope you have. I know I will. I'm here again. I took a short nap. My dreams were empty this time, just darkness. Maybe my mind is getting used to this new world. I've decided I will try to explore the cafeteria soon. I'll gather what I can. The pipe, the flashlight, a cloth mask, and a bag I found that can hold a few items. I'll describe everything I find once I return. It might be risky, but I must try. If I find even a single case of bottled drinks or a few sealed cans of food, it could mean more days of life for me in this broadcast. If I find nothing, I'll have to think again. Maybe try the nurse's office or the boiler room. Risk is part of living now. Doing nothing leads to certain starvation. Trying might lead to injury or sickness, but it could also lead to survival. I must choose life, no matter how hard it is. I remember reading about old explorers who ventured into unknown lands with very little knowledge. They did it because they had no choice. or because they hope to find something better. I guess I'm like that now, exploring the ruins of what I once knew, hoping to find something to keep me alive. I'm feeling a small flicker of courage. Even in this dark time, I can still try something. I'm not completely helpless. As long as I can move and think, I can act. I'll rest a bit more, gather my nerve, and then make the attempt. Don't go anywhere, listener. Stay with me in your thoughts. When I return, I'll tell you what I found. I'm back. I don't know how much time passed since I left, but it felt like hours. My legs are trembling, and my heart is pounding. I made it back here to my little broadcast room, but it was not easy. Let me catch my breath and tell you what happened. I took the pipe, the flashlight, and a cloth over my face. I moved slowly through the hallway, stepping over rubble. The dust was thick in the air, and every step stirred it up. I coughed, but I tried to keep quiet. I have no idea why I cared about making noise. Maybe silence has become a habit. I followed the sign that pointed toward the cafeteria. The hallway was cracked, and some doorways had collapsed. Twice I had to climb over piles of broken tiles and twisted metal. My flashlight flickered a few times, making me worry it would go out completely. But it stayed on, if weakly. When I reached what was once the cafeteria, I found the door off its hinges. The room inside was large, with broken tables and chairs scattered around. I remember when such a place would be filled with laughter and voices. Now it was a grave of old furniture and gray powder. I searched for the kitchen area. I hoped to find a storage room with canned goods or bottled water. The door to the kitchen was jammed, but I managed to push it open by leaning my shoulder against it. Inside, I found metal counters, sinks, and empty shelves. My heart sank when I realized that most of the shelves had been picked clean, or maybe just never had anything stored that long ago. I'm not sure how time passed since everything ended, but it feels like too long for anything fresh to remain. I did find a small room in the back, locked by a simple latch. I pried it open with my pipe and looked inside. It was dark, even with the flashlight. After moving aside some broken crates, I saw a stack of cans. My hands shook as I reached for them, praying they were still sealed and edible. They were large cans of what looked like vegetables and beans, the kind used for feeding many students at once. The labels were faded, but the cans seemed intact. I tapped them lightly, listening for any hollow sound. They seemed solid. I felt tears welling up at the thought of more food. I also found a case of bottled water. Most of the bottles were crushed, but 3 bottles remained sealed and intact. 3 bottles of water. It might not sound like much, but to me it's a treasure beyond measure. I carefully placed the cans and bottles in my bag, trying not to make too much noise. As I was about to leave, I noticed something else. A door leading to what might have been a pantry. It was half blocked by a fallen beam. I considered trying to move it, but it looked heavy, and I was already tired. I decided not to push my luck. I have food and some water now. That's more than I dared hope for. On my way back, I nearly stumbled in the hallway when my flashlight flickered again. In that dim light, I saw something that made me freeze. A shape at the far end of the corridor. At first, I thought it was a person. I whispered, my voice cracking, but there was no reply. I aimed the flashlight beam, and it fell on a broken statue of some old school mascot. Just a statue. My mind had tricked me. Still, the fear lingered, and I hurried back. Climbing over rubble with a heavy bag was hard. My arms and back ache now, but I made it. I locked myself back in this basement room and set the bag down. I counted 5 cans of food, beans, maybe peas or corn. I can't be sure until I open them. All sealed. 3 sealed bottles of water. This is life for a few more days at least. Maybe longer if I ration well. I'm tired, but I feel a sense of relief. I dared to explore and found what I needed. This means I can hold out here longer, keep broadcasting, keep hoping. Maybe I'll try the pantry door another time if I feel brave. But not today. I must open 1 can now. I'm starving. It's beans. They smell musty, but not spoiled. I'll eat a little now. The taste is bland and strange, but better than peanut butter and old fruit. I must not eat too much at once, though. I should save it. Beans and water. What a feast this has become in this broken world. I wonder if anyone else has had such luck. If you're out there, I hope you find something too. Maybe there are places like this in other buildings, a school, a store, a warehouse, still holding a few scraps that can keep you going. After I eat, I'll rest again. My body is weary from the trip. It's strange how what once was a simple walk in a building now feels like a grand expedition. But this is our life now, full of dust and danger, where every step must be planned. I still have the radio on, scanning occasionally for other voices. Nothing yet. But now that I have more food and water, I can wait longer. Time might bring a voice, a sign that I'm not the only one alive. I wonder if the dust outside is ever going to settle. If I had a way to test the air, I could know if it's safer now than before. But I have only my senses. My throat still burns when I go out. So maybe it's not safe yet. Maybe it never will be, but I must not think that way. I'll talk a bit about what I felt when I thought I saw another person. My heart leapt. Even though I was scared, I wanted so badly for it to be someone alive. I would have risked speaking to them. But it was just a statue, a trick of the dim light. Disappointment hit me hard afterward. I realized how lonely I truly am. Still, I must be grateful. I found supplies. That alone is a gift. I can keep going. Keeping this broadcast alive is my mission. If I ever reach another soul, it might bring us together. Let me think about what else I can do. I have food and water for now. Maybe I should try to secure my little space more. Dust keeps seeping in. If I can find a way to filter air through cloth or layers of fabric, it might help keep me healthier. I can use some uniforms from the locker to create a makeshift filter. Not perfect, but better than nothing. Also, I should consider checking the boiler room soon. If there's any stored water there, it could help me in the long run. But I should wait a day or two, recover my strength, and go prepared. One step at a time. I think about the people who once worked in this school's cafeteria. They prepared meals for children, chatting and smiling as they served lunch. The echo of that warmth lingers in these cans of beans I'm holding. It's as if the past is giving me a chance to live a bit longer. I've also thought about trying to find a way onto the roof. Maybe from there, I could see beyond the immediate area, check if smoke still rises somewhere, or if there's any movement in the distance. But the thought of climbing unstable stairs and ladders in this condition worries me. If I fall or get stuck, that would be the end. No, I must stay careful. The cafeteria trip taught me that each journey costs me energy and risk. I must balance that against my needs. For now, food and water were top priority, and I got them. That's enough for the moment. I'll drink a little water now. A few sips. Cold and tasteless, but clean. At least I hope it's clean. The bottles were sealed, so it's likely safe. My throat thanks me. I feel a tiny spark of strength returning. The microphone still works, the transmitter still hums. My voice still carries beyond these walls, if only faintly. That means we're still connected, you and I, wherever you are. I try to remember old friends' faces, their names. The memory is fading. I must hold on to them. In a world with no others, memories are like companions. They remind me of laughter, shared meals, late-night talks. Those times feel unreal now. I wonder if any large buildings elsewhere survived better. Maybe there's a place that had a proper fallout shelter, stocked with gear, masks, and detectors. People there might be organized, working on a plan. If so, maybe someday they'll send out signals that I can hear. I'll keep listening. For now, I have what I need to survive a bit longer. That alone is a reason to keep going. Maybe I'll find more resources next time. Maybe I'll dare to push past the pantry door once I gather strength. This broadcast is my way of holding on to my mind. Without it, I might forget how to speak, how to think clearly. Talking keeps me sane. It reminds me that language matters, that words connect us, even if we never meet. I think about the sky again. If one day the dust clears enough for me to see a patch of blue, I'd take that as a sign that healing has begun. Until then, I must endure the gray gloom. The beans are sitting in my belly now, giving me a tiny bit of warmth. I must store the rest carefully. Each can is precious. I'll wrap them in cloth to keep dust off. Same with the water bottles. They must stay sealed until I need them. I feel a bit of calm now, knowing I won't starve soon. That calm might help me sleep better. Sleep is still uneasy, but without hunger gnawing at me, maybe I can rest more deeply. I will try to hum again, just to add some warmth to the silence. I hope that reaches you wherever you are. Maybe it reminds you of better times, too. My next step might be to create a better mask for my face, using layers of cloth from the uniforms. If I can reduce the dust I inhale, maybe I can venture out more often. The cafeteria had a few large pots and trays scattered around. If I dare go back, maybe I can bring some cookware down here, boil water if I find any that's questionable. But that's another risk. I must be careful with fire as well. Any open flame could use up precious air or create smoke. But a small flame might be okay if I do it near a gap in the wall, letting smoke escape. I must think this through before I try it. Even these small tasks feel like major undertakings now. Life has shrunk to the scale of tiny steps, tiny efforts. No more big plans or grand ideas, just simple acts of survival. I recall that some seeds can survive tough conditions. If I found seeds, could I plant them in a pot with soil from outside and see if they grow? But what soil is safe? And would seeds even sprout in poison dust? It might be too soon to think of gardening. Still, the idea of something green growing out of this ruin warms my heart. I'll focus on what I have now: beans, water, a safe room, a radio signal. That's a lot more than I had before. Let's appreciate it. If you're out there, I encourage you to hold on to any small victory you find. A scrap of food, a piece of cloth for a mask, a tiny bit of clean water. These things are gold now. Treasure them, and keep moving forward. I'm growing tired again. My muscles ache, and my hands are raw from handling rough metal and dusty surfaces. I'll rest soon, sleep on my pile of old jackets, and hope no nightmares come. If they do, I'll wake up and remind myself I'm still alive. Before I rest, I'll say a few final words for this part of the broadcast. Today, I took a risk, and it paid off. I found food and water. I overcame fear and emptiness. That means I can do it again if needed. Each success, no matter how small, is a lesson in endurance. I will sleep now. When I wake, I'll speak again. Maybe I'll try another exploration, or maybe I'll try to make this place more livable. I don't know yet. One step at a time. Good night if it is night. Good day if it is day. Whatever it is, take care, I'll be back. I have woken from a sleep that felt both endless and brief. My dreams were thin, just shadows and whispers. I feel stronger than before, maybe because I had some beans and water. My body thanks me for that. It's a strange comfort, this tiny bit of food and drink in a ruined world. I promised to return, so here I am, speaking into the microphone again. I'm not sure what time it might be, but the faint light from the crack in the wall seems a little brighter today. Or maybe my eyes are just adjusting. It could be wishful thinking, but let me hold on to that hope for a moment. I have the beans, the water, the peanut butter, and a few old cans of fruit cocktail left. If I plan carefully, I can stretch these supplies for a while. This means I don't have to rush outside again so soon. That gives me time to think, to perhaps try something else that might improve my chances of long-term survival. The dust is still a problem. My throat feels scratchy, and my nose is always clogged. I should try to improve the air quality in here. I have cloth from the uniforms I found in the locker. If I tear them into strips and layer them over the crack in the wall, maybe I can create a simple filter. It won't block all the dust, but it might help. I'll do that after I finish talking this time. I've been thinking about checking the boiler room for water. Even a small amount could help me plan further ahead. With more water, I could risk washing a bit of my face and hands, maybe even try to clean some tools. But I must not rush. The cafeteria trip taught me that every foray costs energy and comes with risks. Let me describe my small space again, now that I have a clearer mind. The basement room is about as wide as 2 cars parked side by side with a low ceiling. Concrete walls are lined with old shelves. My sleeping area is just a corner with jackets and blankets piled up. The radio equipment sits on a table near the opposite wall, wires running across the floor to a battery pack and a small crank generator. The floor is dusty, and footprints crisscross it, marking my pacing and small tasks. A few posters still cling to the walls, their corners curled from damp air. One shows children holding hands, smiling. Another shows some safety instructions for old fire drills. These relics of the past remind me that life was once simple and safe in these halls. I have the pipe, my makeshift tool, leaning against the wall. Next to it is the dull knife and a few broken pieces of wood. These are my tools now. No fancy machines, just scraps and whatever I can manage. Survival makes one appreciate even the simplest object. I think about trying to create a schedule for myself, something to give structure to these endless days. Maybe something like gather supplies, rest, check the radio, maintain the filter over the crack, explore one new area if strength allows. Having a routine might help me stay sane and not drift into despair. My voice still resonates in this empty room. Without anyone to answer, it feels like a one-sided conversation. But I keep imagining that maybe, somewhere, a faint speaker crackles with these words. Maybe a stranger sits in another basement, listening quietly. That thought helps me keep going. I will try to remember another pleasant memory from before all this. I recall a warm afternoon when I sat by a pond, feeding ducks with stale bread. The ducks quacked, the water rippled, and I felt at ease. Now I can't even recall what fresh air smells like, but the memory of ducks paddling around on clear water makes me smile faintly. If nature can return someday, maybe scenes like that can happen again. I have decided I will try to improve my mask as well. If I wrap multiple layers of cloth around my nose and mouth, maybe I can breathe more easily when I venture out. Even if it's not perfect, every bit helps. I'll cut strips from the uniforms, tie them together, and see what I can create. Simple steps, simple tools. Let me think about what might be worth exploring next in this school. I found the cafeteria and got supplies. There might be a nurse's office somewhere on the upper floors. That could yield first aid items, vitamins, or bandages. Such things might save my life if I get hurt or sick, but that might be more dangerous. The upper floors could be more damaged, and the dust thicker. I should consider it carefully before trying. For now, I focus on the boiler room. If I can find it, perhaps I'll discover a water heater that still holds some water. That could mean I can drink without fear of running out too soon. Once I have water, I can think about washing my cloth mask, cleaning my hands, maybe even trying to rinse the dust from my hair. Small comforts that might lift my spirit. The beans I ate sit well in my stomach. I'll open another can later today, but not too soon. I must ration carefully. Each can represents days of survival if I stretch it. I don't know when I'll find more. Let me check the radio frequencies again, just in case. Nothing but faint hisses. It's like the world forgot how to speak. I sigh and set it back. Maybe tomorrow I'll try again. Hope is stubborn, and I'll hold on to it even when reason tells me not to. I wonder if animals survived at all. Without them, the world feels empty. No birds singing, no cats slinking between ruined walls. Silence. But life is resourceful. Maybe in some corner far away, birds still sing and leaves still grow. I must believe that. I'll try to describe what I feel when I think about the future. It's a mix of dread and a tiny spark of hope. Dread, because the world above is broken and hostile. Hope, because as long as I live, the story isn't over. Things can change, given enough time. I recall an old saying about small seeds growing into large trees over many years. Right now, all I have are seeds of hope in my mind. They might not grow tomorrow or the next day, but if I survive long enough, maybe they will bloom into something real. My throat is dry again. I'll have another sip of water. Just a sip. There. I close my eyes, feel the cool liquid run down my throat, and imagine it washing away some of the dust. It's not tasty, but it's life. Now, about that filter idea. I'll take the uniforms and tear them into long strips. I'll layer these strips over the crack in the wall. By overlapping them, I hope to catch some dust before it enters. The room might get a bit darker, but that's a small price to pay. Better to breathe cleaner air if I can. Also, I can try hanging a piece of cloth near the door, so when I come back from outside, I can brush off some dust before entering. Any small measure might help. Survival in this place is about small measures adding up. I should also think about checking my body for any wounds or sores. Without proper hygiene, infections are a danger. So far, I have no serious injuries, just a few scrapes and a persistent cough. I must avoid getting hurt. A simple cut could turn deadly if it gets infected. If I ever find the nurse's office, bandages would be a treasure. Medicine would be priceless. Even a small bottle of antiseptic would give me peace of mind. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. One goal at a time. Right now, my goal is to live another day, keep the broadcast going, improve my small shelter, and maybe find more water. That's enough for now. I think about whether I can mark a map of this building. I have paper and a pen. If I can recall where I've been, I can draw a rough map to avoid getting lost. I know the cafeteria is down one hallway. The storage room where I found uniforms is in another direction. If I keep track of turns and doorways, I can plan safer routes for future searches. I'll do that after I finish speaking. A map, even if rough, will give me a sense of control in a chaotic world. It might also prevent me from wandering in circles or stumbling into unsafe areas. I might try something else too, gently tapping on pipes to see if any water flows. If the plumbing still holds even a little, I might fill a small container. But that could stir up more dust or lead nowhere. Still, worth a quick test. My mind keeps drifting to the idea of others surviving. If I found someone else, how would we communicate? Would we trust each other? Or would fear make us wary? I like to think we would share supplies and stories, comfort each other against the silence. Humans are social creatures, after all. Without others, I must make do with my own voice in these broadcasts. I hold on to the belief that words can travel, even if I never hear a reply. Words give shape to my thoughts, keep me from unraveling. I wonder if after enough time, the radiation and dust will fade to safer levels. Maybe if I wait long enough, I can roam more freely, look for cleaner areas, maybe even find seeds to plant. It's a long shot, but what else do I have? I must stay cautious. Radiation is invisible and silent. I have no tools to measure it, just my body's reactions. If I feel weaker after going outside, I should limit such trips. If I cough more than usual after a certain area, I should avoid it. Trial and error, though dangerous, is all I have. I'm tempted to light a candle to warm my spirits, but candles produce smoke. The air is bad enough. Maybe I can light one near the door for a brief moment, just to see the flame dancing. But I must be careful not to use up what little I have. Candles could help if the flashlight fails. Speaking of the flashlight, I must save its battery too. Next time I explore, I should move slowly, rely on what dim light is available. If the flashlight dies, I'll be in trouble. Maybe I can reflect what little outside light I have with a mirror. I found a small hand mirror once. If I position it correctly, maybe I can direct a beam of light into dark corners. Simple tricks, but they might help. I'm trying to think like someone who must survive with almost nothing. Each idea counts, no matter how small or odd. I must adapt. That's what life is about now. Adapting to a harsh world, and hoping to see a day when it's less harsh. I have a few more beans left from the opened can. I'll eat them later for dinner, if I can call it that. Having something to look forward to helps. A small meal in the dark basement is now a highlight of my day. I remember people often saying we never know what we have until it's gone. Now I understand that deeply. Water, sunlight, fresh air, other people, all taken for granted before. Now they are distant dreams. Maybe if we ever rebuild, we'll cherish them more. I try to recall a moment of kindness I witnessed in the old world. Once, I saw a stranger help an elderly man cross a busy street, holding his arm gently and guiding him with patience. Such small acts of kindness might be rare now, but I must remember them. They prove that we can be good to each other. If I ever find survivors, I will try to be kind. We've all lost so much, we must hold on to our humanity. Without it, what are we? The silence here can be heavy. At least my words echo in my own ears. I will not let silence and dust define my remaining days. I will speak, plan, and take small steps toward something better, even if I cannot see it yet. Let me rest for a bit, then I'll start working on the cloth filter for the crack. After that, I'll make a rough map on paper. Then maybe I'll knock on pipes and see if I hear water. Each small task keeps me engaged, keeps my mind sharp. I'm going to sign off for a while, but I'll return when I have more to say. Maybe I'll report on the cloth filter or any progress I make. Until then, if you're listening, hold on. Keep breathing, keep trying, as I am. We are not done yet. I'm back. I tore strips from the uniforms and created a layered cloth over the crack in the wall. It made the room darker, but I think it will help with the dust. I coughed less in the last few minutes, which is a good sign. I also started drawing a small map on a piece of paper I found in a drawer. It's crude, just lines and boxes, but it shows where the cafeteria is, where the lockers are, and where my shelter is located. I marked the doorway to the outside yard. If I ever get confused or disoriented, I can check the map. It's a comfort to have something to guide me. I tapped on some pipes with my knife handle, listening for a hollow sound. Mostly I got dull thuds. No obvious sign of water. But the boiler room might be deeper in the basement or down another corridor. I must explore carefully. Not today, though. Today I already did enough. Tomorrow or another day I might venture out again. The cloth mask I made for my face is 3 layers thick now. I tied it around my head, tested my breathing. It's stuffy, but better than breathing raw dust. If I must go out again, I'll wear it. Every small improvement matters. I feel a bit proud of these tiny achievements. Cloth filters, a map, a better mask, found supplies. In a world stripped of comfort, these small victories shine like little lanterns in the dark. I check my supplies again. 4 cans of beans or vegetables left, a few old fruit cans, peanut butter, and 3 bottles of water minus the sips I took. That's enough for a while if I'm careful. This security eases my mind. It means I can focus on improving conditions rather than just surviving another day. I think I'll try to organize the basement more. Clear some rubble, make a small corner for tools, another for supplies, another for sleeping. Order and cleanliness might help my mental state. Even if no one else sees it, I'll know it's tidy. Dusting might be pointless, though. Without real cleaning tools, dust will always settle. But maybe I can wipe surfaces with a damp rag, capture some dust that way. I'll use a tiny bit of water for that if I must. Breathing cleaner air is worth it. I keep wondering if I'll ever hear another voice on the radio. I know it's a long shot. Still, hope glows faintly inside me. If I give up on hope, what do I have left? Let me tell you another memory. Once, at a street festival, I watched dancers move gracefully under strings of colored lights. Music played, people cheered, and the scent of roasted corn filled the air. That world seems so far away now, but I remember it vividly. I store that memory in my mind as a treasure, to remind myself that joy once existed. If we make it through this, maybe we can dance again, eat fresh food, and tell stories under a clear sky. Maybe those things are gone forever, but maybe not. Life can be surprising. My body is starting to feel the ache of constant tension. I must do some stretches to keep my muscles from cramping. Just simple stretches I remember from school exercises. Touching my toes, rolling my shoulders. Even these small movements help me feel more alive, more connected to my body. After this, I might try to improve my bedding. Jackets and blankets are decent, but if I arrange them better, I might sleep more soundly. Good sleep means better strength and clearer thinking. I feel a slight headache, perhaps from the dust or hunger. I'll eat a spoon of peanut butter to ease it. A small taste, just enough to give me energy. Still sticky, still odd, but it fills my belly a little. I think about tomorrow. Maybe I'll rest all day, recover more strength. Or maybe I'll check the basement corridors for signs leading to a boiler room. I must pick my tasks wisely. Overdoing it could weaken me. I realize I have become more patient, more careful. The old me might have rushed outside, panicked, wasted supplies. Now I know every action matters. This harsh lesson might make me stronger if I survive it. I'll try the radio again. Still nothing. Perhaps I can adjust the antenna if I find something metallic. If I reach higher ground someday, I might improve reception. Another idea for another time. For now, this is enough. I improved my shelter. I made a map. I talked about my thoughts. I have food and water, I have a plan for tomorrow, even if it's just resting or thinking about the boiler room. That's progress. I'll sign off again for a while, conserve my voice, my energy. I'll return later to update you on anything new. Stay safe, whoever you are. If you breathe, if you think, if you remember, then we share the burden of being alive in this silent world. Let's carry that burden with quiet courage. I woke up feeling the ache in my bones. I stretched quietly in the darkness, thinking about what to do next. My sleep had been uneasy, but at least I rested a bit. My throat still feels dry, but I have water, so I take a small sip and hold it in my mouth before swallowing. It helps. I have been thinking all through the quiet moments. The map I drew is in front of me, lit by a dim flashlight beam. If I follow the corridor on the lower level, I might find a door leading to the boiler room. I recall seeing signs in other schools that marked where the boilers were kept. Perhaps this place has something similar. Even if not, I can guess by following pipes and checking maintenance doors. It's risky, but fresh water is so important. If I can find a sealed tank or something similar, it might last longer than the bottles I have. Before I attempt that, I should try to improve my gear once more. The mask I made helps filter out dust, but it's hard to breathe through. I might add one more layer of cloth that I can remove if it becomes too stuffy. Layers give me options. I can raise or lower them like a shutter depending on how thick the dust is. Simple ideas might save me trouble later. I also consider bringing a small container, maybe one of those empty cans, to collect water if I find any. Of course I must boil it, but I have so little fuel. Still, if I find water in a tank, it might be safer than random puddles. I must trust my senses. If it smells strange or looks dirty, I'll be careful. In these times, caution is everything. I will also wear more layers of clothing from the uniforms to protect my skin. If dust settles on my arms or neck, I might itch and breathe it in when I brush it off. Covering myself might help. I'll look a bit foolish with mismatched clothes, but who cares now? Survival does not care about style. I'm going to speak aloud what I plan to do, as if telling a friend. I will go back into the corridors, follow the path I marked on my paper, and look for any signs of a boiler room. If I see a sign that reads something like maintenance or equipment, I'll try that door. If it's blocked, I might need to force it open. I must be gentle, though. Making loud noises or causing a collapse would be a mistake. If I fail to find the boiler room, I'll return here. I have enough supplies for now, so I don't want to push myself too far. But if I find it and there's water inside, that would be a great victory. Even a small amount would give me more days of life, more room to think and plan. Before leaving, I check my shoes. They are old and worn, but better than nothing. I tie them tightly. I don't want to slip or get a shard of glass in my foot. I also tuck the dull knife in my belt, just in case I need to pry something open or cut through cloth. I bring the pipe too, my trusty makeshift tool. This time, as I step into the hallway, I'll keep my flashlight beam low, close to the floor, so I don't waste battery scanning ceilings. I know what the halls look like. Cracked walls, fallen debris, dust everywhere. No need to stare at it. I just need to find doors and signs. I remember that sometimes boiler rooms are near laundry or storage areas. Maybe I should look for shelves or old washing machines. Anything that hints at a space once used for building upkeep. If I find a heavy metal door, it might be the place. Boiler rooms often had thick doors. I must not get my hopes too high. There's a chance the boiler room is empty or flooded with toxic water. If the tanks burst, the water inside might be mixed with debris and dust. Still, I must try. Doing nothing leads nowhere. If at any point I feel dizzy or start coughing too hard, I'll turn back. My life is worth more than a bit of water, but I must test my limits carefully. This is the world now. Small tests of will and caution. I have not spoken about the outside in a while. I still recall that yard with the twisted swing set. Sometimes I think about going farther than that yard, maybe checking another building across the street. But the air seemed worse out there, the dust thicker. If I barely survive inside, the outside might be even harsher. Maybe in time, if I see signs the dust is settling, I can venture out. Not yet, though. I'll try to keep track of time by counting steps. If I walk too far and find nothing, I'll return. It's easy to get lost when hallways look the same, coated in ash. My map might help, but I must mark new turns. Maybe I'll scratch a small mark on the wall with my knife, a simple arrow, so I know my path back. Good idea. Simple tricks can prevent disaster. I realize I'm talking a lot about this plan before doing it. Maybe I'm nervous. Of course I am. I'm alone, after all. But talking it through steadies me. If you're listening, maybe it helps you too. If you try something similar, remember to move slowly, stay calm, and trust your instincts. I'll leave some extra cans and water behind, well hidden, in case someone else ever comes here. If I don't return, maybe another survivor will find them. Sharing with a stranger I might never meet feels like a small good deed in a grim time. But I must survive first. Let's not think about failing. I'm going now. I will turn off the microphone while I explore, to save power. When I return, I'll tell you what I found. Wish me luck silently, across whatever distance separates us. I made it back. Let me close the door behind me. There. Safe again? Or as safe as can be in this place. It was harder than I thought. The hallways beyond the cafeteria area are even more choked with debris. I had to crawl under a fallen beam at one point, and my new mask helped a bit. But it was still tough to breathe. I found a locked door that might lead to something important. The sign above it was damaged, but I could make out the first letters, which might have said "maint" before it faded. That could stand for maintenance. I tried to open it, but it was stuck. I wedged the pipe between the door and frame and leaned my weight on it. After several tries, it budged a bit. Inside was a dark room, smaller than I expected. I shone the flashlight around and saw old tools, dusty shelves, and broken pipes. Nothing that looked like a boiler. But there was another door inside that room, a heavier one. I pushed against it and it squeaked open, revealing a set of stairs going down. My heart pounded. Stairs down in a school basement could mean the boiler room is on a lower level. I went down slowly, counting each step, careful not to slip. At the bottom, the air felt heavier, but I pressed on. I found a metal door with a wheel handle, like those old storage rooms you see in old buildings. Turning that wheel handle took all my strength. It groaned, and the echo startled me. Inside, I found a large tank, pipes running along the walls, and what looked like old heating equipment. Yes, this must be the boiler room. It smelled stale and metallic. Dust coated everything, but I saw no water on the floor. If the tank had water, maybe it was still sealed inside. I checked the pipes. One had a small valve at about chest height. I turned it gently. At first, nothing, then a drip. Then a small trickle of water emerged. I quickly placed an empty can underneath it. The water was not much, just a slow drip, but it filled the can halfway before stopping. I tasted a drop. It was stale, but not salty or foul. Still, I know I should boil it if I can. At least it's water. If this tank has water, maybe I can come back and try again or try another valve. I must be careful not to drain it too fast or stir up dirt inside. Slow and steady. Before leaving, I also found an old wrench and some wire. I took them both. Tools might help me fix or pry open other things. Then I climbed back up the stairs. It was harder going up. My legs were shaking. I returned through the maintenance room, past the beam, following my scratched marks on the walls until I reached the basement where I started. Now I have a can of water, a wrench, and some wire. Not a huge bounty, but important. The can of water needs boiling. I have a few scraps of wood and paper that I can burn. If I do it carefully, near the door, letting smoke out, I can boil the water. That might make it safer to drink. I must set up a small pot for this, maybe from the cafeteria kitchen. I feel a sense of grim pride. I found the boiler room. I got some water. I have a place to get more if I need it. It's not easy, but life is never easy now. I will rest again. My arms ache, my knees hurt. But I have water, food, a map, and tools. I'm building a tiny life here. If days pass and I remain stable, maybe I can try the nurse's office next. One step at a time. I have to boil this water soon, but I'll do it after I catch my breath. Speaking to you helps calm me. I survived another small journey. If you're out there, remember that small steps can lead to big results. Each trip into the dust might bring back something that helps you survive. I'll end this broadcast for a while, focus on boiling water, maybe clean my mask again, and think about my next move. Rest well, whoever listens. We are still here, still finding ways to live in this silent world. I've rested for a while. My muscles still ache, but I managed to eat a small spoon of peanut butter and drink a bit of my bottled water. I must keep my strength up. I have a plan now. Boil the water I collected from the boiler room. Even if it's just a small amount, safer water means I can stretch my bottled supply. I found an old metal pot in the cafeteria kitchen before. I brought it down here the other day. It's dusty, but I can wipe it clean with a bit of cloth. I have some scraps of wood and bits of old paper from a torn poster. That should make enough fire to boil a small amount of water. I must be careful, though. Fire means smoke, and smoke means breathing issues. I'll do it near the door, open it a bit to let some smoke drift out into the hallway. Not too wide, though. I don't want dust rushing in, just a crack, enough for smoke to escape. It's a delicate balance. I remember when boiling water was such a simple thing, just turning on a stove. Now it's an operation that requires planning and caution. I feel like I'm living in a story from old times, where every act of survival was a struggle. But this is my life now, so I must adapt. Let me try it now. I'll keep talking quietly as I work. I'm putting a bit of water from the can into the pot, just enough to fill maybe half. I want to leave some space in case it bubbles. I set the pot down and arrange small scraps of wood underneath, along with paper. I'll spark a small flame with a match I found in a supply closet. I have only a few matches, so I must be quick and sure. The flame catches on the paper, then the wood. Smoke drifts upward. I open the door a crack. The smoke curls out slowly. The pot will take a while to heat. I must fan the flame gently. My eyes sting a bit, but not too much. I can still breathe through my mask. As I wait for the water to boil, I think about my next steps. I have found water, food, and tools. I have a map. If I can get more comfortable, maybe I can search for seeds or something that might grow later, though I doubt anything can grow in poisoned dust. Still, it's a thought. Bubbles form in the water now, a soft, rolling boil. I'll keep it boiling for a minute or two, just to be safer. I know it's not a perfect method, but it's better than nothing. Boiling should kill many hidden dangers, at least the kind that come from germs. Radiation, if present, is another story, but I have no way to remove that. I must trust that this water is less dangerous than random puddles. The water is hot now. I'll let it cool before I try to drink it. I have a scrap of cloth I can drape over the pot to keep dust out as it cools. The fire is dying down. I'll stomp it out gently, to avoid any lingering embers. There, no more flame, just a wisp of smoke drifting away. This small success makes me feel a bit more in control. I have safe water, or safer at least. Enough for a few careful sips later. I'll mix it with the bottled water I have, stretch my supply further. If I can return to that boiler room from time to time, I might have a steady supply, as long as I don't push my luck or drain it too fast. I think about whether I can improve my living space more. Maybe create a small barrier at the door, something I can easily move aside that keeps dust from rolling in. If I find some old sheets or curtains, I could hang them. Double layers of cloth might block dust without keeping me trapped. That's another small project for later. The radio is still silent, but I keep checking. Maybe I should try to improve the antenna. If I find a piece of wire long enough, I can run it up the stairs and maybe catch a better signal. It might not help, but it's worth a try. Finding another voice out there would be a miracle, but I won't give up hope. I wonder how long it's been since the blasts. I lost track of time long ago. Days blur together. I scratch marks on the wall to count them, but without a proper sunrise or sunset, it's guesswork. Still, my marks on the wall say I've survived many days. That's something. Each mark stands for a day of not giving up. If I ever manage to leave this place, I'll need a plan, a direction to walk, a reason to go. Right now, leaving seems foolish. The dust outside might be worse, and I have no sign of greener lands. Maybe I must wait, gather strength, and see if the dust settles in time. But what if it never settles? I push that thought away. I must believe that changes can happen. Maybe rain will fall and wash away some dust. Or maybe over time the air will clear. If I stay alive, I can find out. The boiled water is cooler now. I'll take a careful sip. It tastes flat and strange, but not worse than what I had before. At least it's warm and reminds me of the old days when I could have tea or coffee. Warm water alone feels like a comfort now. I'll save the rest for later, bottle it again if I can. I have one empty bottle from the fruit cocktail juice that I washed with a few drops of my precious clean water. I can store boiled water in it. The fruit smell might linger, but that's not too bad. I think about the people who once walked these halls. Teachers, students, workers. They never imagined it would end like this. If they could see me now, boiling water over scraps of paper, they would cry. I try not to dwell too long on that. Sadness can slow me down. Instead, I focus on what I can do next. Maybe try to fix my sleeping area. If I place some cloth under the jackets, I can soften the floor. Better sleep means more energy, more clear thoughts. I also want to try to find a better container for boiling water next time. This pot is fine, but if I had something with a lid, I could keep dust out more easily. The cafeteria might have something with a lid, or maybe the nurse's office has a metal container. Another reason to try the nurse's office someday. But not today. Today I've done enough. Found water, boiled it, improved my mask, created a small flame safely. These small acts keep me going. I must remember to speak softly and not strain my voice. If I lose my voice, talking to you becomes harder. And that's my lifeline. Even if I never hear back, my voice reminds me that I'm still a person, not a ghost in a dead world. I wonder if there are others like me, hidden in other basements, whispering their own stories to silent radios. Maybe one day we'll find each other. Maybe not. But I hold that image in my mind. Two survivors meeting in the dust, sharing what they have, rebuilding a bit of trust in a broken world. For now, I'll end this part of the broadcast. I need to rest. Maybe try to tidy up more. I'll return later and let you know if I make any new progress. Stay strong, whoever listens. We're still alive, and that counts for something. I've been quiet for a while, tending to small tasks, thinking about what to try next. The dust seems no thinner, the silence no less heavy. Yet I'm still here, breathing, planning. Each day that passes means I have learned a bit more about how to live in this hollow world. I managed to improve my bedding a little. I laid down more layers of cloth, making the floor less unforgiving. My sleep was a touch better, and I woke with only a slight ache, rather than the deep pains I felt before. Small comforts matter. I decided not to attempt a large trip today. I need to save my energy. I have food, water, and a bit of routine now. Instead, I want to try something different. I want to improve my radio antenna. If I can catch even a faint signal from someone else, it might change everything. I have some wire I found in the boiler room and a bit of string from torn cloth. If I tie the wire to the antenna and run it up the stairwell, maybe it can pick up signals from above. I must be careful not to knock loose rubble. The building is fragile. The stairs that lead up to the ground level were cracked, but still passable. I won't go outside just near the top step. If I can secure the wire near a window frame or a piece of metal, I might gain a better range. Even if I catch only static, I'll know I tried. First, I'll prepare the wire. I strip away old insulation with my dull knife, exposing the metal inside. I tie one end to the radio antenna, wrap it tightly so it won't slip. The other end I coil around my hand as I climb the stairs slowly, mask on, flashlight off to save battery. There's a weak light from the crack near the top of the doorway. The air smells no better up here, still filled with fine grit that coats my throat. I try not to cough, don't want to waste moisture. At the top step, I peek through a gap where a piece of roof collapsed. There's a broken window frame with twisted metal bars. Perfect for tying the wire. I reach out carefully, loop the wire, and twist it tight. I hope this creates a makeshift antenna extension. Back downstairs now, I return to my basement room. My heart beats a bit faster. Every small climb feels like a journey. I sit beside the radio and turn the dial slowly. Static, soft hisses, faint pops. I listen carefully, holding my breath. Is that a whisper, or my mind playing tricks? I twist the knob again. For a moment, I think I hear something. A faint hum, slightly different from normal static. I lean closer, straining my ears. It might be nothing. Or it might be a distant signal too weak to understand. Still, it's different enough to make my heart flutter with hope. I keep scanning, trying different frequencies. Mostly just static, but now I know there might be subtle differences if I listen long enough. Maybe at another time of day conditions change. Maybe a weak signal could become clearer. I will try again tomorrow and the day after. I won't give up after one attempt. Hope thrives on persistence. Even if I never hear a clear voice, knowing I tried helps me feel less alone. After that effort, I rest. A sip of my boiled water, a taste of canned beans. I have grown used to their bland flavor. They fill my belly. I consider warming them next time by holding the can near a small flame. Warm beans might feel more like a real meal, even if it's just a small comfort. My body feels weaker than before all this happened, but I'm adapting. I move slowly, conserve energy. I think carefully before every action. Without the noise of a busy world, I have time to consider each step in detail. I think about trying something else. Maybe building a simple filter for water using cloth and sand from broken concrete. But I have no clean sand. Everything might be poisoned. Boiling is my best bet for now. If I had a larger container, I could try to store more water. But more water would mean more boiling, more smoke, more precious matches burned. I must keep things simple for now, do only what is needed to survive a bit longer. I think about the nurse's office again. It might have bandages, maybe even painkillers or vitamins. Vitamins could help with my gums, my general health. If I feel stronger, I can explore more. But the nurse's office might be on a higher floor, and the floors above might be unstable. One misstep could bring a ceiling down on me. Still, if I never try, I'll never know. I might wait until I'm sure I can handle another trip. For now, I should strengthen my position here. Maybe I can scavenge more cloth, make more filters, prepare small bundles of supplies so I don't have to rummage each time I need something. Organization can save time and energy. I recall that I once complained about mundane chores, cleaning my home, washing dishes, doing laundry. Now I'd give anything for such simple routines. They would mean I lived in a world with running water and safe air. Perspective shifts when survival is on the line. I wonder about the weather. Does it rain outside? If it rains, does the rain bring down more dust or wash it away? If I found a way to collect rainwater, that could help. But stepping outside without proper protection is too risky. Maybe someday I'll build a makeshift shield or suit to go out. For now, it's just an idea. If only I had something green to look at, a leaf, a blade of grass. The memory of green plants soothes me, but I've seen none since the blast. Everything is gray, brown, lifeless. Still, life is stubborn. Maybe under the ash, seeds sleep, waiting for a chance. I adjust my mask, feeling its scratchy cloth against my face. My mask has become a part of me. I remember when masks were rare, used only by certain workers or in special situations. Now it's my shield against unseen death in the air. I'll try the radio again, slowly scanning, listening, just static, no words. Still, I imagine someone out there doing the same thing, scanning for a voice. Maybe we're like ships at sea, passing in the night, signals never quite meeting. The thought saddens me, but also makes me feel less alone. Even if we never connect, the possibility that someone else tries is a comfort. I think about writing a note and placing it somewhere accessible. If another person ever enters this school, maybe they'll find my note, learn from my words. I could write where I found food, how to boil water, how to avoid dusty hallways. It would be my gift to a future survivor. Words can outlive me if I fail. But I'm not planning to fail. I still fight each day, adapting, learning. That's why I record these messages. Even if you never reply, I keep talking to hold on to my humanity. I will rest again soon. Maybe eat a few more beans, take a sip of boiled water, and try to sleep. Tomorrow I might try a small exploration on this same level. Look for more useful items. No long journeys yet, just a careful look around. With my map and marks, I can avoid getting lost. Before I end this part of the broadcast, I want to say that I understand how frightening this world can be. If you're out there, feeling the same fear, know that you're not alone in it. Someone else is also scared, also holding on. We are separate, yet connected by the simple fact that we refuse to give up. Sleep well if sleep is possible. Rest if you can. I will do the same. When I return, I'll share what I've done, what I've thought. Until then, breathe slowly. Hold on to hope. That's all we have, and it might be enough. I've spent what feels like hours resting, breathing as evenly as I can. My body is still sore, but the ache feels familiar now. I think of it as my body's way of reminding me that I've lived through another day in this silent place. I decided to organize my supplies a bit more. I took the cans, the water bottles, and the peanut butter jar, and arranged them neatly in a corner. Now I know exactly how much I have, which helps me plan my meals. Seeing them lined up gives me a small sense of control. Control is rare now, so I value it. I also folded some cloth into neat piles. I used to think folding clothes was a chore. Now it feels like a calming task, something to keep my hands busy and my mind focused. Anything that keeps me from drifting into hopeless thoughts is welcome. I said I might explore this level of the building. Nothing too far, just close by. There's a corridor I haven't checked thoroughly. Maybe I can find a broom or a sturdy piece of wood to use as a support when I walk. My legs feel shaky sometimes, and having a staff to lean on could help. Also, a broom could sweep some dust away, even if it's just a small spot to keep clearer. Let me try it now. I'll keep talking as I go, to feel less alone. The corridor is dim, but I've allowed my eyes to adjust. I hardly need the flashlight if I move slowly. I see old lockers, some dented, some half open. They're empty except for dust and scraps of paper that crumble in my hand. At the end of the corridor, there's a closet with a broken door. I push it aside, careful not to make a loud noise. Inside, I find a few old sports items, a bent badminton racket, some torn nets, and, a mop handle. The mop's head is gone, but the handle is sturdy. I test its strength against the floor. It holds. This can be my walking staff. Perfect. I also see a torn banner on the floor. I pick it up. It shows faded letters and a picture of children holding hands. I brush off the dust and fold it. Maybe I can use it to cover my sleeping corner a bit more, or as an extra layer on the door to block dust. Cloth is always useful. I return to my room. I place the mop handle beside my tools. Now I have a staff to lean on if my legs feel weak. Small victories again. Every object I find can serve a purpose now. I wonder if I should try to clean a small area of the floor in my room, see if I can remove some dust. If I sweep and then wipe it with a damp cloth, maybe I can create a cleaner patch where I sleep and store my food. Less dust means less coughing, which means I save water by not coughing so much. Everything connects. I'll try sweeping a corner. The dust rises in a small cloud. I hold my breath and let it settle. Maybe sweeping just stirs it up. I need a damp cloth to trap it. I'll moisten a cloth with boiled water and wipe the surface. The cloth turns gray, but the floor looks a bit cleaner. At least it's not perfect, but it's an improvement. I must be careful not to waste too much water. Maybe I'll wait until I have more water before cleaning a larger area. I think about the future a lot. What if I run out of matches for boiling water? I must find another way to create fire, or at least to purify water. Perhaps I can leave water in clear bottles near a crack of light for a long time and hope that helps, but that's uncertain. Boiling is safer. I must conserve my matches, maybe by lighting one small fire each week and boiling several batches of water at once. If I had a larger container, I could store more boiled water at once. That's something to look for. I recall that in the cafeteria kitchen, I saw large metal pots and trays. If I'm strong enough to carry one down here, I could boil a larger amount of water at once. But that means more smoke, more wood or paper to burn, unless I find another source of heat. Maybe the boiler room's pipes get warm if I turn a valve, but that might be dangerous or waste water. I must not break what I rely on. My mind drifts to thoughts of other people again. I try not to dwell on it too much, but it's hard. We are social beings. Alone in the dust, I cling to the idea that someone else is breathing and thinking. Maybe doing what I'm doing, surviving day by day. If we met, what would we say? Probably very few words at first. Just share a nod, share a small meal, cry quietly because we're not alone anymore. Until then, I talk to this microphone and imagine a listener. It keeps me calm. It reminds me I'm still a person with thoughts worth sharing. Let me check my supplies again. A few cans of beans, a couple of cans of old fruit, peanut butter, and water. Enough for a while. I can reduce my rations if I must. I found a mop handle to help me walk, extra cloth to filter dust, and I know how to reach the boiler room for more water. Not a perfect life, but better than nothing. I think about trying the radio again. Maybe this time I'll pick up something new. Still mostly static. I close my eyes and listen carefully. Sometimes the static changes pitch slightly, almost like distant waves. Maybe it's just interference. I sigh and turn it off for now. Later I'll try again. I recall that I wanted to improve my mask further. Maybe I can sew layers of cloth together more tightly. I have wire and a dull knife, but no proper needle. Perhaps I can make a hole in the cloth with the knife, thread wire through like stitches. It will be crude, but better than loose layers. A tighter mask might filter dust more effectively, protect my lungs a bit more. Every small improvement counts. I will do that after I rest. My eyes feel heavy. Sleep is my ally now. In sleep, I conserve energy, escape the gray world for a while. Dreams sometimes bring back colors, voices, moments of warmth and light. Even if I wake to dust and silence, the memory of those dreams helps me carry on. Before I end this part of the broadcast, I want to say something simple. I'm still here. It might seem like a small thing, but it's everything. I'm here, alive, thinking, trying. If you are too, then that's a bond between us, silent and unseen. Let's keep going one day at a time. I'll return after I've rested, after I've tried stitching my mask. Maybe I'll have a new idea, maybe not. Either way, I'll keep speaking. Until then, hold on, breathe steady, and don't lose hope. I've rested again. I slept longer than I intended, but maybe my body needed it. Each time I wake, I check my supplies, my surroundings, just to be sure nothing has changed. Everything looks the same. The dust, the silence, the faint light through cracks. Steady in its emptiness. I decided to try stitching my mask as I planned. I took the cloth pieces and tried to push a bit of wire through as if it were a needle. It was clumsy work. My fingers slipped, my eyes watered from dust, but I managed to bind a few layers together more firmly. The mask now fits snugly around my nose and mouth. I can feel the difference when I breathe. The air seems a bit cleaner. At least that's what I tell myself. Even a small improvement in how it feels might give me confidence. After that, I sat quietly and listened to my own breathing. It's slower, calmer. My throat still feels scratchy, but maybe less so. I sip some boiled water, swish it around in my mouth before swallowing, hoping to ease the dryness. It helps a little. I think it's time to consider another task. The nurse's office idea still lingers in my mind. If I find vitamins or bandages, it could mean more comfort, more safety. But the upper floors worry me. I remember that in many schools, the nurse's office was on the ground or first floor. If I'm lucky, maybe it's not too far up. If it's just one flight of stairs, I might risk it. But I must be prepared. I'll plan it out. I'll take my staff, my improved mask, my flashlight, and a bit of water. I'll mark my path as I go, scratching arrows on walls with the knife. If I sense danger, a shaky floor, a collapsed ceiling, I'll turn back immediately. I must not push my luck too far. A twisted ankle or a trapped foot could mean the end. Before I do that, I should eat something. I open a can of beans, just a spoon or two. Chew slowly, swallow, feel the warmth spread in my belly. These beans have kept me going. I must not take them for granted. They are life in metal cans, a gift left behind by people who never knew I would need them this way. I wonder if the nurse's office would have any sort of protective gear. Even something simple like a surgical mask or gloves would help. Maybe a basic first aid kit. Anything that gives me a better edge against infection or cuts would be valuable. I also wonder if I might find something like antiseptic wipes, bandages, even painkillers. They would be precious. Right now, if I get injured, I have almost nothing to treat it with. That fear hangs over me every time I venture out. With proper supplies, I might feel braver, explore more places, maybe find more food later. My mind also drifts to the possibility that I might find a clue about what happened, though I doubt it. Probably just more dust and ruin. But sometimes human curiosity lingers. We want answers, even if they don't change our fate. Yet I know I must focus on survival. Answers can wait. I check my mask fit again, tighten the cloth strips behind my head. I grip my staff and take a deep breath through the improved layers. Slightly easier now, I think. I leave my supplies tucked neatly in my corner, but I'll take a bottle of boiled water with me. Just a small one, in case I need a sip halfway through. Let me try now. I move slowly along the corridor I know well, reach the stairwell that leads up. The steps here are cracked, but still hold. I test each one with the staff before putting my weight on it. 1 step, 2 steps. The dust stirs as my boots scrape the concrete. At the top of these stairs, a doorway leads to what used to be a main hallway on the first floor. I see faint light from broken windows far ahead. The air smells the same, stale and bitter. I look at the signs on the walls, peeling paint barely visible. If I can find a sign that says nurse or something similar, I'll know I'm on the right track. I walk slowly, scanning each door. Many have fallen off their hinges. Classrooms empty, desks overturned, papers scattered, dust everywhere. I see a sign on one door, half cracked. C's off. The rest of the letters are missing, but this must be it. The nurse's office. It's just a guess, but a strong one. The door is jammed. I try pushing. No luck. I wedge my staff under a broken part of the frame and lever it gently. The wood creaks, and a piece breaks off, letting me slip inside. It's a small room, or maybe 2 rooms connected. I shine my flashlight. Cabinets line one wall, a small bed in the corner, sheets gray with dust. I see a cabinet with glass doors, cracked but not fully broken. Inside, I glimpse boxes and bottles. My heart beats faster. If these are medical supplies, I must be careful not to break them. The cabinet door is locked, but the glass is already cracked. I can slip my knife in and pry it. With a soft snap, the door swings open. Bottles with faded labels, boxes of bandages, small packages of pills. I check them one by one. The writing is blurred, but some look like basic painkillers. Some might be vitamins. Bandages, gauze pads. This is exactly what I hoped for. I take a small cloth bag from under the bed, an old pillowcase really, and fill it with these supplies. Not too many. I don't want to carry too much weight. Just enough to be very helpful. I grab a bottle of antiseptic fluid, if that's what it is, and a pack of Band-Aids, gauze rolls, and a bottle that looks like multivitamins, though I can't be sure. The label is almost gone, but there's a picture of fruit on it. I'll guess vitamins. I also see a pair of gloves, dusty but intact, and a few face masks sealed in plastic. Real masks, better than my cloth one. I snatch those quickly. They could improve my breathing a lot. I'm so relieved I feel like crying. I don't want to linger. The floors could be unstable. I back out slowly, retracing my steps, knife in hand to scratch an arrow on the wall pointing back. Down the stairs again, carefully, each step a relief as I return to my lower level. Back in my room, I lay out my finds. Real masks. This is a treasure. I open a packet and put one on. It fits snugly, filtered layers. I breathe in and it feels cleaner than before. My eyes tear up, partly from relief, partly from dust. I remove it to save it for when I go outside again. No need to waste it here. Bandages, antiseptic pills. I must be careful with the pills. Without knowing exactly what they are, I should try them sparingly. If they're vitamins, they might help restore some strength. If they're just placebo, well, I lose nothing by trying. The bandages mean I can explore with less fear. A small cut won't be a death sentence now. The antiseptic fluid, I open it and smell. It smells chemical, sharp, familiar. I'll trust it's what I think it is, something to clean wounds. I have improved my chances of long-term survival with this trip. The nurse's office was worth the risk. I feel stronger just knowing I have these things. I'll rest now, maybe try one of the suspected vitamin pills with a sip of water. If I feel no ill effects after a while, I'll assume they're safe. If they give me more energy, even better. Before I sign off, I reflect on what I've done. Planned carefully, moved slowly, adapted. I got what I needed without harm. This is the key to surviving here. Patience, caution, and hope. If you're listening, I hope you find what you need too. Maybe your version of a nurse's office is a storage locker, or a basement tool room, or a small stash of food behind a fallen beam. Keep looking, keep trying. We are not done yet. I'll speak again after I rest and think a bit more. Until then, breathe steady, believe in small victories. They add up to keep us alive. I've rested well, finding a bit more comfort in this dark basement. The warmth from the small fire I built earlier still lingers, and my muscles feel less tense. Today, I want to make the most of the supplies I found in the nurse's office. These items, bandages, antiseptic, pills, are invaluable. They represent a lifeline, a way to protect myself from injuries and perhaps even improve my health. I decide to take one of the vitamin pills, carefully placing it in my mouth and swallowing it with a sip of the boiled water. The taste is bitter, but it's better than nothing. I wait a few minutes, feeling a slight boost of energy. It's subtle, but it's there. This gives me the courage to think about my next steps with a clearer mind. With the improved mask and the real masks from the nurse's office, my breathing feels a bit easier. I can move around more comfortably now, knowing that I have better protection against the dust that invades my space. These masks are a significant upgrade from the makeshift cloth one I fashioned earlier. They fit snugly, filtering out much of the particulate matter that clings to my skin and lungs. I decide to organize my medical supplies next. I lay out the bandages, antiseptic fluid, and pills neatly on the table. Having them sorted and easily accessible means that if I ever get a cut or feel unwell, I can address it promptly. This organization also helps keep my mind focused, turning chaos into order within these confined walls. Thinking about future explorations, I realize that preparation is key. The success of my last trip to the cafeteria was a result of careful planning and cautious movement. If I decide to venture out again, perhaps to the nurse's office or another area of the school, I need to be even more prepared. That means having all my supplies in order, ensuring my mask is secure, and mentally preparing myself for what I might encounter. I take a moment to reflect on my progress. Each day, I make small improvements, whether it's finding new supplies, enhancing my equipment, or refining my survival strategies. These incremental steps are what keep me going. They build a sense of accomplishment, even in this desolate environment. Without these small victories, the weight of isolation and despair would be too much to bear. I glance at the map I drew earlier. It's crude, with lines marking the cafeteria, the nurse's office, and my current position. There are notes scribbled beside certain areas, reminders of what to look for and what to avoid. This map is my guide, a way to navigate the labyrinth of broken halls and collapsed rooms. It's essential for any future excursions, helping me stay oriented and minimizing the risk of getting lost or injured. As I sit here, I hear the faint dripping of water somewhere in the building. It's a small sound, but in this silence, every noise feels amplified. Maybe it's from a leaky pipe or a forgotten faucet. These sounds remind me that the building is still alive in its own way, with its systems failing and slowly decaying over time. It's a harsh reality, but one I must accept. I decide to tackle another task, improving my filtration system. Using the improved mask and the real masks, I experiment with layering the cloth to create a better barrier against dust. I tear strips from the uniforms, weaving them tightly together, and secure them over the cracks in the walls where dust enters. It's laborious work, but the difference is noticeable. The air feels less abrasive, and my throat doesn't burn as much when I breathe. With the filtration improved, I feel more confident about spending time here. Maybe I can even extend my working hours on the radio, sharing more thoughts and maintaining this connection with an unseen listener. It's strange to think that my voice travels beyond these walls, reaching someone, somewhere, in this vast emptiness. That thought alone keeps me motivated to keep talking, to keep hoping. I take a few more sips of the boiled water, feeling the warmth spread through me. Hydration is crucial, and now that I have a safer source, I can ration my supplies more effectively. I set aside a portion of the water for immediate use and store the rest in a sealed container to keep it clean and safe for later. Managing these resources wisely ensures that I can survive longer, giving me more time to think, plan, and adapt. Thinking ahead, I consider the possibility of gathering more tools. The wrench and wire from the nurse's office could come in handy for repairs or improvising new devices. Maybe I can rig up a better antenna for the radio, extending its range and improving the quality of my broadcasts. Every improvement, no matter how small, adds to my resilience in this challenging environment. I also think about mental exercises to keep my mind sharp. Isolation can lead to a decline in mental health, but engaging in routine tasks, reflecting on memories, and setting small goals help maintain my sanity. I start writing down these thoughts in a notebook I found in the nurse's office, documenting my experiences, plans, and hopes. If someone ever finds this notebook, it could serve as a record of survival, a testament to resilience in the face of unimaginable adversity. As night approaches, or what passes for night in this perpetual twilight, I prepare for rest. I ensure all my supplies are secure, double-check the filtration system, and set up a small area for sleeping that's as clean and dust-free as possible. I lie down, pulling the blankets tight around me, and let the exhaustion wash over me. Sleep is fleeting, but it's necessary for survival. Before drifting off, I speak into the microphone one last time for today. Today I made progress. I improved my mask, organized my supplies, and strengthened my filtration system. Each small step brings me closer to surviving another day in this silent world. If you're out there, know that we share this struggle. We hold on to hope, one day at a time. Until tomorrow, stay strong. I let my voice fade into the static, allowing sleep to claim me once more. In this dark basement, I find solace in the routine, the small victories, and the unyielding hope that somehow, somewhere, another survivor listens to my words. I've woken up feeling a bit more rested today. The nights are long and filled with restless thoughts, but today I managed to sleep a little deeper. My body still aches from yesterday's efforts, but the slight boost from the vitamin pill helps me push through the fatigue. Every day here is a battle against exhaustion, but I refuse to let it win. This morning I decided to tackle another important task, exploring the nurse's office thoroughly. With the map I drew and the markings I scratched into the walls, I felt a bit more confident navigating these familiar yet treacherous corridors. My staff is now securely placed beside me, ready to support me if my legs falter again. I prepared for the journey by gathering what I needed: my improved mask, the mop handle, the flashlight, the knife, and a small can of boiled water. I tucked the bandages and antiseptic into my jacket pocket, just in case I encountered any minor injuries. Organizing my supplies beforehand has become second nature. It minimizes the time I spend rummaging and reduces the risk of forgetting something crucial. As I step out of my basement room, I make sure to secure the additional layers of cloth over the cracks in the walls. The filtration system feels noticeably better now, and I can breathe a bit easier without the incessant coughing. The hallway outside is as silent and dusty as ever, the remnants of the old-school life scattered around me like forgotten memories. I follow the path marked on my map, carefully stepping over broken tiles and twisted metal. The corridors are dim, lit only by the faint light filtering through the damaged windows. Shadows play tricks on my eyes, making it seem like movement is just beyond the edge of my vision. I keep moving forward, each step deliberate and measured. Reaching the nurse's office, I pause for a moment to steady myself. The door is slightly ajar, the hinges creaking softly as I push it open. Inside, the room is dimly lit, with shelves lining the walls, still holding the promise of medical supplies. I scan the area, my flashlight beam darting across the countertops and cabinets. I approach the first cabinet and try to open it. It's locked, but not too firmly. Using the wrench I found earlier, I managed to loosen the lock, and the door swings open with a soft thud. Inside, I find an array of first aid items, antiseptic wipes, sterile bandages, and even a small box of painkillers. Relief washes over me. These supplies are invaluable, a small assurance that I can tend to minor wounds without fear of infection. Next, I move to another shelf, pulling out a box of vitamins. Although the labels are faded, the clear bottles hint at their purpose. Taking one and examining it closely, I decide to add these to my daily intake. Nutritional supplements might help counteract the deficiencies caused by my limited diet. I carefully place the vitamins into my notebook, noting their presence for future reference. As I continue searching, I find a sturdy pair of gloves. They're dusty, but intact. Donning them, I feel a bit more protected against the lingering dust and possible contaminants. It's a small comfort, but it makes a difference. I also discover a packet of saline solution, perfect for rinsing my eyes if the dust becomes too abrasive. With my hands full, I decide to check the other cabinets. Most are either empty or filled with non-essential items like old bandages and empty bottles. However, I do come across a sealed container that might hold more supplies. Testing its sturdiness, I find it still intact. Opening it carefully, I find additional antiseptic fluid and a few more vitamins. Another small victory. Feeling more equipped, I decide to make a quick exit before I tire myself out further. As I turn to leave, I hear a faint noise, a soft scraping sound coming from the back of the nurse's office. My heart skips a beat. Is someone else here? I grip my staff tighter, my mind racing with possibilities. I approach the source of the sound cautiously, flashlight in hand. The room is empty, but the sound seems to be coming from a storage closet nearby. Pushing the door open slowly, I find nothing but dust-covered boxes and old medical equipment. My mind plays tricks on me, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm not alone. Perhaps it was just the building settling, or maybe a loose piece of debris shifting with the temperature changes. Deciding not to dwell on it, I focus on my mission, gathering supplies to improve my chances of survival. With the nurse's office now secured and better stocked, I make my way back to my basement room, careful to retrace my steps accurately. The map on my wall serves as a guide, ensuring I don't get lost in these maze-like corridors. Back in my room, I organize the new supplies neatly, integrating them into my existing stockpile. The antiseptic wipes and painkillers are placed within easy reach, while the vitamins are stored for daily consumption. The gloves and saline solution find their place in the kit I've been assembling. Each item has its purpose, and their presence brings a small measure of peace. I take a moment to reflect on the day's efforts. Every trip outside, every search through the building, is a step toward maintaining my humanity in this desolate place. The memories of laughter, warmth, and community seem like echoes from another life, but holding on to them gives me strength. They remind me of what I'm fighting for, a chance to rebuild, to find others, to reclaim some semblance of the world that was lost. Feeling a bit more hopeful, I decide to update my broadcast notes. I jot down the details of my discoveries, the supplies I've gathered, and any observations from the nurse's office. Documenting these experiences helps keep my mind sharp, preventing the monotony from consuming me entirely. It also serves as a record, should someone else find these messages in the future. As evening approaches, or whatever semblance of time exists in this perpetual twilight, I prepare to rest once more. I ensure all my supplies are secure, double-check the filtration system, and make my sleeping area as comfortable as possible. The jackets and blankets provide warmth, and the organized space makes the darkness a bit less oppressive. Before lying down, I take a few moments to listen to the radio. Still, no new voices break through the static. It's as if my efforts to improve the antenna haven't yet borne fruit. Still, I hold on to the possibility that persistence will pay off. Tomorrow is another day, another chance to try again. I close my eyes, letting the exhaustion pull me into a restless sleep. My thoughts drift between memories of the past and the fragile hope for the future. In this quiet basement, my voice remains a beacon of resilience, a testament to the enduring spirit that refuses to surrender to the silence. Today I secured vital medical supplies and improved my living conditions. Each small victory builds my strength and keeps hope alive. If you're listening, know that we share this struggle. Together, even in our solitude, we find ways to survive. Until tomorrow, hold on. I've rested well after today's exploration. The nurse's office proved invaluable, and the supplies I gathered have already made a significant difference. Bandages, antiseptic, vitamins, and real masks. I feel more prepared to handle whatever comes my way in this silent world. This morning, I decided to focus on organizing my space further. A tidy environment helps keep my mind clear and my spirits up. I rearranged the supplies on the shelves, categorizing them for easy access. Medicines are now within arm's reach, and the gloves and saline solution are neatly stored away. Each small improvement builds a sense of order amidst the chaos. With my improved mask and the real masks from the nurse's office, breathing feels less abrasive. I adjusted the layers of cloth over the cracks in the walls, enhancing the filtration system. The air quality has noticeably improved, and my throat doesn't burn as much when I breathe. It's a subtle change, but a welcome one. I took some time to update my map. Marking the locations I've explored and noting potential areas of interest helps me navigate these maze-like corridors. The map now shows the cafeteria, the nurse's office, and my basement room with clear pathways. Having a visual reference reduces the anxiety of getting lost and ensures I can retrace my steps if needed. Today, I also decided to conduct a more thorough test of my radio antenna. Adjusting the wire with the additional supplies from the nurse's office, I hope to capture a stronger signal. I turned the dial slowly, listening intently for any signs of another voice. For a moment, there was a slight change in the static, a faint, almost imperceptible murmur that resembled words. My heart raced. I leaned closer, straining to hear more, but it faded back into the familiar hiss. Maybe it was just interference, or perhaps a distant signal too weak to decipher. Regardless, the possibility reignited a spark of hope within me. I made a note to continue scanning the frequencies more diligently, perhaps at different times when conditions might be more favorable. Persistence is crucial, and I refuse to let this faint whisper be the end of my search for another survivor. Feeling a bit more confident, I turned my attention to another essential task: improving my living conditions. Using the mop handle, I swept away some of the accumulated dust, making the area around my sleeping spot cleaner. Then, I used a damp cloth to wipe down surfaces, carefully conserving water while trying to keep the dust at bay. These small acts of maintenance help preserve my health and sanity in this confined space. I also began documenting my experiences more diligently in the notebook. Writing down my thoughts, plans, and observations serves as both a record and a way to keep my mind engaged. It prevents the isolation from taking a deeper toll and provides a sense of continuity amidst the uncertainty. As the day progressed, I felt a growing sense of accomplishment. Each small victory, whether it's organizing supplies, improving my mask, or testing the radio, builds my resilience. I'm learning to adapt, to make do with what I have, and to find meaning in these daily routines. Survival here is not just about physical endurance, but also about maintaining hope and purpose. I decided to take a short break and eat a few more beans. Nutrition is sparse, but every bit counts. I ate slowly, savoring the warmth and the minimal sustenance they provided. After eating, I sipped some of the boiled water I had carefully stored, feeling the cool liquid soothe my parched throat. With the evening approaching, or what passes for evening in this perpetual twilight, I prepared for another rest period. I ensured all my supplies were secure, double-checked the filtration system, and made my sleeping area as comfortable as possible. The jackets and blankets provide warmth, and the organized space feels safer. Before lying down, I spoke into the microphone one last time for today. Today, I made meaningful progress. I secured vital medical supplies, improved my filtration system, and tested the radio antenna again. Though I didn't catch a clear signal, the faint murmur gives me hope that someone else might be out there listening. If you're hearing this, know that you're not alone. We share this struggle, and together, in our own ways, we hold on to hope. Until tomorrow, stay strong. I let my voice fade into the static, allowing sleep to reclaim me once more. In the quiet darkness of this basement, I find solace in the routine, the small victories, and the unwavering hope that somewhere, someone else is also holding on, just like me. I woke up feeling a bit more refreshed today. The routines I've established here in the basement have started to give me a sense of normalcy amidst the chaos. Each day, I wake, eat a little, breathe through my improved mask, and speak into this microphone. It's a simple existence, but it keeps me grounded. This morning I decided to revisit the radio antenna setup. The faint murmur I detected yesterday still lingers in my mind, urging me to try again. Perhaps adjusting the wire further or repositioning the makeshift extension could enhance the signal. With the tools I have, wire, string, and the mop handle, I begin experimenting with different configurations. I carefully untie the wire from the antenna and reroute it along the wall, securing it with some tape I found in the nurse's office. The goal is to extend the reach of the antenna without creating too much tension or risking it coming loose again. I adjust the length, hoping to capture any faint signals that might be out there. As I fine-tune the setup, I keep the radio turned on, scanning the frequencies with renewed focus. The static is still prevalent, but I listen for any subtle changes, any hint of another voice or a clearer signal. Minutes pass, each one filled with anticipation and the quiet hum of the radio. Then, almost imperceptibly, I notice a slight shift in the static, a pattern that doesn't match the usual white noise. My heart races as I lean in closer, trying to discern any meaning from the interference. It's still too faint to understand, but it's different. It's a possibility that someone else out there is also trying to reach out. I jot down a note in my notebook. Radio antenna adjusted. Possible signal detected. Will continue monitoring. Documentation has become a crucial part of my survival, keeping track of each small achievement and maintaining a sense of purpose. Feeling a surge of hope, I decide to spend a little more time adjusting the antenna, moving the wire incrementally to see if I can amplify the faint signal. The process is tedious, but the potential reward makes it worthwhile. I know that any improvement in the antenna's performance could mean a lifeline to another survivor, a connection that could break this isolation. As the day progresses, I alternate between adjusting the antenna and tending to my basic needs. I eat another small portion of beans, rationing my food carefully to ensure it lasts as long as possible. I drink from my boiled water supply, savoring each sip, knowing how precious it is. The vitamins I found are now a part of my daily intake, helping to sustain my strength and overall health. In the afternoon, I decide to explore a bit more of the basement, searching for anything I might have missed earlier. With my map and newly acquired tools, wrench, wire, and the mop handle, I navigate the maze-like corridors with confidence. I check each room methodically, ensuring I leave no stone unturned. One room catches my attention, a storage closet that I hadn't fully explored before. The door is slightly ajar, and I cautiously push it open. Inside, I find a few more useful items: an old first aid kit, some extra gloves, and a stack of notebooks and pens. The notebooks are filled with scribbles and old notes, likely remnants of someone else's existence here. They offer a glimpse into the past, adding layers to the silence that envelops this place. I carefully gather the items, adding them to my growing collection of supplies. Each discovery feels like a small victory, reinforcing my belief that I can survive and maybe even thrive in this desolate environment. Organization is key. Knowing where everything is keeps my mind sharp and reduces the chaos of searching in the dark. As evening approaches, or what I assume is evening given the dim light, I return to my basement room to update my map. I mark the storage closet and note the additional supplies I found. This map is more than just a guide. It's a symbol of my progress, each mark representing a step forward in my journey. Before I settle down for the night, I take a moment to reflect on the day. The adjustments to the antenna didn't yield any immediate results, but the slight shift in the static is promising. I remain patient, knowing that persistence is crucial. Tomorrow I'll continue monitoring the radio, making further adjustments if necessary. I speak into the microphone once more, sharing my thoughts and experiences. Today I made significant progress. I adjusted the radio antenna and detected a faint shift in the static, a possible signal from another survivor. I also explored more of the basement, finding additional supplies that enhance my chances of survival. Each small victory strengthens my resolve to keep going, to keep hoping. If you're out there listening, know that we share this struggle. Together, even in our solitude, we hold on to the hope of finding each other. Until tomorrow, stay strong and stay hopeful. I let my voice fade into the static, feeling a sense of accomplishment mixed with lingering uncertainty. The possibility of a connection with someone else gives me purpose, a reason to continue striving despite the overwhelming silence. Lying down, I prepare for another night of rest. I ensure my supplies are secure, the improved mask is in place, and my sleeping area is as comfortable as possible. The jackets and blankets provide warmth, and the organized space feels safer and more welcoming. As I close my eyes, my thoughts drift to memories of the past. Friends, family, moments of joy and laughter. These memories are my anchor, keeping me connected to the person I once was and the world I once knew. They remind me that even in the darkest times, light exists within and around us. Sleep comes gently, and I allow myself to drift, knowing that tomorrow is another day filled with challenges and opportunities. In this silent basement, I find strength in routine, hope in the possibility of connection, and resilience in the face of overwhelming adversity. Tomorrow, I'll continue my efforts. I won't stop until I find a way to reach out or until I find someone who reaches out to me. We are not alone if we keep trying. We are survivors, holding onto the threads of hope that weave us together in this broken world. Today marked another day of perseverance. The morning sun, if it exists outside, filters weakly through the cracks in the walls, casting long shadows across my organized space. I wake up feeling a bit more rested, thanks to the careful balance I've maintained between activity and rest. My body still aches from yesterday's efforts, but the vitamins are starting to make a subtle difference. Each day, I feel a little stronger, a little more capable of handling the challenges that this silent world throws at me. This morning, I decided to focus on improving the filtration system further. Using the real masks I found in the nurse's office, I experimented with layering different fabrics to enhance dust filtration. I tore strips from the old uniforms and meticulously folded them, creating multiple layers that I secured over the cracks in the walls. The air feels noticeably cleaner now, my throat less irritated by the constant dust. It's a small improvement, but it makes breathing easier and reduces the wear on my makeshift mask. With the filtration system enhanced, I turned my attention to documenting my experiences more thoroughly. The notebook I found has become an essential tool, a repository for my thoughts, plans, and observations. Writing helps keep my mind sharp, preventing the isolation from taking a deeper toll. I jot down every small victory, every new discovery, ensuring that nothing is forgotten. It's also a way to maintain a sense of purpose, knowing that these records could one day serve as a testament to survival and resilience. Feeling a bit more confident, I decided to revisit the radio antenna setup. The faint murmur I detected previously was still on my mind, pushing me to refine the antenna in hopes of capturing a clearer signal. I carefully adjusted the wire, ensuring that it was as taut as possible without risking any loose connections. I extended the makeshift antenna higher along the wall, hoping to gain a better reception range. The process is meticulous, but the possibility of connecting with another survivor fuels my determination. As I fine-tune the antenna, I keep the radio on, listening intently. The static is still prevalent, but now I'm more attuned to its nuances. After several minutes of adjustment, I detect a slight change in the static's pattern, a rhythmic pulsing that stands out from the random noise. My heart races as I focus on deciphering the sound. It's too faint to understand, but it's different enough to suggest it might be another signal, another voice trying to reach out. I make a note to monitor this frequency more closely, dedicating specific times each day to listen without interruption. Encouraged by this possibility, I decide to take a short walk within the basement corridors to explore areas I might have missed earlier. With my improved mask and the sturdy mop handle now serving as a reliable walking staff, I navigate the maze-like hallways with greater ease. I follow my map, retracing my steps to ensure I stay oriented and avoid getting lost. Each room I enter, is a reminder of the vibrant life that once filled these halls. Classrooms with desks neatly arranged, a gymnasium with equipment scattered about, now silent and still. In one of the less frequented corridors, I discover a storage room I hadn't fully explored before. The door is partially open, inviting yet foreboding. I push it gently and step inside, my flashlight beam sweeping across the room. It's filled with old sports equipment, deflated basketballs, worn-out nets, and abandoned trophies. I pick up a dusty basketball, feeling the weight of forgotten games and childhood laughter. It's a poignant reminder of what's lost, but also of the resilience of memories that linger even in destruction. As I explore further, I find a locked cabinet at the back of the room. Using the wrench I obtained earlier, I manage to loosen the lock and open it with some effort. Inside, I discover a set of tools, screwdrivers, pliers, and a sturdy pair of gloves. These tools are more than just objects. They represent the potential to fix, to build, to adapt. I add them to my growing collection, knowing that they could prove invaluable in future endeavors, whether it's repairing the radio antenna or creating new tools from scavenged materials. Returning to my basement room, I feel a sense of accomplishment. Each trip outside, each search through the corridors, brings me closer to maintaining my independence and improving my living conditions. The supplies I've gathered, the tools I've found, and the improvements I've made to my filtration system all contribute to a fragile yet steadfast sense of hope. It's a hope that sustains me, that drives me to keep pushing forward despite the overwhelming silence that surrounds me. As afternoon fades into evening, or what passes for evening in this perpetual twilight, I take a moment to reflect on the day's efforts. The improved antenna, the additional supplies, the organized space, all small victories that collectively enhance my chances of survival. I sit down at the table, updating my map with the new areas I've explored and the items I've found. This map is more than just a guide. It's a symbol of my progress, each mark representing a step forward in my journey. I decide to document another entry in my notebook, detailing the day's activities and the slight improvement in the radio signal. Writing helps solidify my experiences, turning abstract thoughts into concrete records that keep me connected to my humanity. It's easy to let the mind wander into despair in this isolation, but writing provides structure and purpose, anchoring me to the reality of my existence. As night approaches, I prepare for rest. I ensure that all my supplies are secure, that the filtration system is functioning optimally, and that my sleeping area is as comfortable as possible. I lie down, pulling the blankets tightly around me, and allow the exhaustion to settle in. Sleep is elusive, often interrupted by memories and the ever-present dust, but it's a necessary respite. Before drifting off, I speak into the microphone one last time for the day. Today, I strengthened my connections, both with the past and the hope for the future. I improved my filtration system, found essential tools, and detected a faint signal on the radio antenna. Each day brings new challenges, but also new opportunities to overcome them. If you're listening, know that you're not alone in this struggle. We share the same hope, the same desire to survive and find each other. Until tomorrow, stay strong and keep hope alive. I let my voice fade into the static, closing my eyes and allowing sleep to reclaim me once more. In this dark basement, I find solace in the routine, the small victories, and the unwavering hope that somewhere, someone else is also holding on, just like me. I woke up feeling a bit more energized today. The vitamin pills I've been taking are starting to show their benefits, giving me a subtle boost that helps push through the lingering fatigue. Each day here is a testament to endurance, but I'm holding on, one moment at a time. This morning I decided to revisit the radio antenna setup with renewed determination. The faint murmur I detected yesterday still lingers in my mind, urging me to refine the antenna in hopes of capturing a clearer signal. With the additional wire and tools I gathered from the nurse's office, I meticulously adjusted the antenna's position, extending it higher along the wall and securing it firmly with the wire I obtained. I turned the dial slowly, focusing intently on the static, listening for any discernible patterns or shifts that might indicate another voice trying to reach out. Minutes passed with nothing but the familiar hiss of white noise, but I remained patient, knowing that persistence is key in this silent quest for connection. As I fine-tune the antenna, I take stock of my supplies. The real masks from the nurse's office have significantly improved my breathing experience, filtering out much of the dust that once made each breath a challenge. I feel less irritated, my throat no longer burning as intensely. It's a small improvement, but one that makes a substantial difference in my daily life. I make a note in my notebook. Radio antenna adjusted. Continued monitoring for signals. Documentation remains a crucial part of my survival strategy, ensuring that I track each effort and its outcome. It helps maintain a sense of purpose, preventing my mind from succumbing to the overwhelming isolation. Feeling slightly more confident, I decide to organize my medical supplies more thoroughly. I sort the bandages, antiseptic wipes, and pills into separate sections on the shelf, making them easily accessible in case of minor injuries or health issues. This organization not only optimizes my space but also provides a mental boost, knowing that I'm prepared for unexpected situations. With the antenna adjustments complete, I take a short break to eat a few more beans and sip some of the boiled water I've carefully stored. Nutrition is sparse, but every bit counts. I chew slowly, savoring the warmth and sustenance they provide. The vitamins I consume daily are starting to alleviate some of the deficiencies, making me feel a bit stronger and more alert. In the afternoon, I decide to conduct a thorough inspection of my map, updating it with the new areas I've explored and marking potential spots for future searches. The map has become an indispensable tool, a visual representation of my progress and a guide to navigating the labyrinthine corridors of this desolate building. Each mark and note serves as a reminder of my journey, highlighting both the challenges I've faced and the victories I've achieved. Feeling a surge of determination, I decide to embark on another exploration trip, this time aiming to find more tools and perhaps some additional water sources. With my organized supplies, improved mask, and sturdy mop handle as a walking staff, I feel more prepared than ever to face the unknown. I double-check my preparations, mask securely in place, supplies neatly packed, map in hand, and staff ready for support. I leave the basement room, carefully adjusting the layers of cloth over the cracks to maintain the enhanced filtration system. The hallway outside remains as silent and dusty as ever, but I move with a newfound sense of purpose. Following the path marked on my map, I navigate through the familiar yet unforgiving corridors. Each step is deliberate, my flashlight beam cutting through the dimness, illuminating the remnants of a once bustling school now silenced by catastrophe. The air is still thick with dust, but my improved mask allows me to breathe more comfortably, reducing the incessant coughing that once plagued me. Reaching the end of the hallway, I find myself at the entrance to the gymnasium, a vast room that once echoed with the sounds of sports and laughter. The doors are partially open, allowing a sliver of light to filter through. I push them gently, stepping into the spacious area. The gym is empty, save for scattered equipment and debris. I begin searching for anything useful. Water bottles, more tools, or perhaps a source of fresh water. As I explore, I stumble upon an old water cooler near the far wall. It's dusty and partly disassembled, but I manage to salvage a couple of sealed water bottles that are still intact. Holding them up, I feel a sense of relief, knowing that I have found more water to extend my already limited supply. Carefully, I place them in my bag, ensuring they remain sealed and safe for future use. Continuing my search, I find a storage rack filled with various sports equipment, some deflated basketballs, torn nets, and a couple of sturdy metal batons. These items, though remnants of past activities, can serve practical purposes now. I grab a few batons, recognizing their potential as additional support or even defensive tools if needed. With my bag now brimming with valuable supplies, I decide to make my way back to the basement room. Retracing my steps, I feel a sense of accomplishment with each step. The journey was taxing, but the rewards make it worthwhile. Back in my organized space, I lay out the new items, integrating them into my existing stockpile. The additional water and tools bolster my chances of survival, providing more options and greater security. Before resting again, I take a moment to reflect on the day's efforts. Each exploration trip, each small victory, reinforces my resilience and determination. The fear and uncertainty remain, but they are tempered by the tangible progress I've made. Holding on to hope, I remind myself that survival is not just about enduring but also about adapting and improving with each passing day. I decide to update my notebook with today's discoveries, the additional water bottles, the metal batons, and the updated map reflecting my new findings. Recording these details ensures that I maintain a clear record of my progress and can plan future actions with precision. As evening approaches, I prepare for another rest period. I ensure all my supplies are secure, the filtration system is functioning optimally, and my sleeping area is as comfortable as possible. The jackets and blankets provide warmth, and the organized space feels safer and more inviting. Before lying down, I speak into the microphone one last time for today. Today, I expanded my supply base by finding additional water and tools in the gymnasium. Each step forward, each small victory, strengthens my resolve to survive and maintain hope. If you're listening, know that your efforts matter too. We share this journey, holding on to hope and building our resilience together. Until tomorrow, stay strong and keep pushing forward. I let my voice fade into the static, allowing sleep to reclaim me once more. In this quiet basement, I find solace in the routine, the small victories, and the unwavering hope that somewhere, someone else is also holding on, just like me.